Good evening, everyone. Warm welcome to all the participants today on the third day of the 7 days executive program. My sincere thanks to ICAI President Nihar Sir, ICAI Vice President Debashish Mitra Sir, Chairman, Committee for Members in Industry and Business, CA Hansraj Chuk Sir, Vice Chairman, Committee for Members in Industry and Business, CA Durgesh Kabra Sir. This program by CMIB has been specifically made for you all to prepare you for the upcoming campus program and also to enter into the corporate world. We have present here today Secretary of CMIB, G. Ranganathan G. We have our speakers today, CA Rajiv Hira, CA Jayaprakash Agarwal. This program will make you confident and help you to navigate through all the challenges. You have very encouragingly participated in the last 2 days. And we hope that your participation will continue. All the thoughts which have been shared by our Chairman Chuk Sir, Vice Chairman Kabra Sir, and all the speakers in these days, you all have been giving feedback that it's making you more confident. And as we progress through the 7 days, you will see a sea change, a difference in yourself. While we analyze through the last 2 days questions, there are 5 or 6 areas which are repeatedly asked by the participants. There may be a possibility that the participants are new or your confusion is not clear. So I would like to, before I hand over to our learned speakers today, I would like to briefly touch upon those 5 or 6 areas, because from now on we will be learning a lot of technical things as in the corporate environment it happens. There is a significant confusion on how communication plays a role. There will be 2 sessions on communication where you will be prepared for it, but I would like to share one small story. When I was a kid and studying in school, I was studying in an English medium of ICSC board. But our school was not that strict that we had to speak in English in the school. One day my father was sitting with one uncle and he complained that he is spending so much money on our education and still I'm not speaking in English. Then I justified by saying, no, I'm speaking, you have not seen this and that. He further shared that my uncle's children are speaking in English, but my children are not speaking. My uncle was in an army. When you are in an army environment, you get an opportunity to speak in English. The problem with us was that we were not getting opportunity to speak and we thought that we know. But we were not knowing that much. It didn't make significant damage to us because when I came to UAE, then being in different communities where everyone may not understand Hindi, that developed the speaking ability. So therefore you need to remember that when you go for an interview, even though you are not speaking in English now, you can prepare yourself because you will know the questions which may be asked. You can jot down the points. When it comes to communicating in English, it's not required to speak in complicated sentences. In fact, we should speak in the simple sentences. If you see British people, they have a very small 3, 4 word sentences. There are, yesterday our speaker, Amit Arora, told you that there are a lot of videos available and your preparation will happen. So therefore, please dispel all your doubts related to communication. It will get sorted. Second thing, there are number of questions on the attempts and gap from attempt 1 to attempt 20. Always remember that there may be some organizations who may have some guidelines, but please understand that the opportunities are limitless. There are so many opportunities. Also remember, if you had spent more attempts, you have got more experience. It may be that you are full-time working somewhere, so you have gained that experience. Your experience gained in the job will negate your more attempts. If we have a gap for some family reason, please do not hesitate. First day speaker Gulneet said that, say confidently that due to the family reasons, you had a gap. No issues in it. Please remember that experience and your life experiences will always overweigh attempts. So dispel all your doubts regarding attempts you may have taken. The third thing is asked is career in industry and Big Four. Which one you should choose? Now, if you have an interest in the audit, then Big Four is some we look at. And if we have an internship from Big Four or large firms, then it becomes much easier. So therefore, when you come into a campus program, there may be Big Four firms, there may be some firms from outside India who has come. They are not Big Four, but they are one of the top 10 or 20 accounting networks. And there may be some organizations like Olam and Tolaram who employ a large number of our members in African region. They regularly visit. There have been some firms from UAE also which have visited in the past, like Rack Ceramics. So depending upon the opportunity you are getting, you will understand that what may work best for you. So therefore, latch on to the opportunity which you are getting and do not bog down your mind with lot of confusion. The things as the time moves on will get sorted. Now, there is a question on experience in articleship very often, that what to do if my articleship experience is not that great. Always remember, in every office, we might have seen an office boy or a junior clerk, those who may have spent a lot of time. They may be having a very good knowledge on certain things. So when we go into an articleship, there is nothing like a small or a large work. When I started my articleship in Chandigarh and I had to go for a very big assignment, I had an emergency, and that was to be sorted, because if I would have not done my surgery, I would have lost one of my eyes. So therefore, I did not go, and I had to later on take back transfer to a smaller city. I started my career in the audit firms with Big Five, with the fifth largest accounting firm. My experience was also disturbed. It doesn't matter. We have to keep our confidence high. Now, as you see that most of the speakers are from abroad, you have been regularly asking that how the opportunities abroad works. I have already spoken about the organizations who regularly participate in our campus program. For 2 years, we also did an overseas campus program in the past where many other accounting firms, mid-tier firms participated. When I took a job by seeing an advertisement in a Naukri. When it comes to Big Four, they always have a platform where you can submit your CVs, whether it is for India or for abroad, any other region. When it comes to MNCs or large organizations which employ for a software companies or other companies for financial analyst positions for manufacturing or other concern, you can review the opportunities you may get to know through different sources. We are in a very different period. I took my job abroad in 2007. The things have significantly changed, where the resources have significantly increased to connect. So therefore, you may get opportunities. I can tell you that Big Four in the Middle East employ together, where they look for their new team between the period of May to June, because they have to get their candidates into the foreign country by August latest, because they have to train also themselves. So therefore, apply in this period. If you already have a Big Four experience in articleship, your CV will be highlighted above. The other thing that I would like to share is that they prefer more young students, because the promotions in Big Four in the initial period happen very quickly. So therefore, if our age is, let's say, crossing 25, 26, they do not prefer, but there may be an opportunities in the firms next to it. As I told you that it's not only Big Four, there are large firms in India. So the experience is significant and wide. Now there have been many questions that what should I know? There are many things that are being taught here, but you will know in the time to come. But understand that whether you are going for an industry or going in the practicing field, the basics starts from accounting standards. In both the areas, you have to know it. If you are going in a practicing field, then you should also know the auditing standards. So this is the basic from where the things start. You have cleared your all the papers. You know that how the strategic financial management works, how the accounting works, and those kind of questions is, if being asked, you will be able to answer. So brush up, be confident with your understanding on the accounting and auditing standards. There are other standards also coming, but these are the two basic. Like now, forensic standards are there, valuation standards are there, sustainability standards are there, public sector accounting standards are there. Twitter, you were engaging with Amit on a Twitter. Twitter is a very good source to see how the updates are happening. You can visit to the websites of these of the Twitter handles of these standard setters, and you can see that what have been the updates in the last 1 month, 2 months. All the updates you will get there. So understand that as you move on, as you progress, you will know the things. Why I have took 10 minutes today to share all these things is that because I want you to be clear that if there has been something which has not worked perfectly for us, it should not bog us down. Because if those kind of thoughts will be keep revolving in our mind, we won't be able to make a difference to our lives by working on the things where we need to work on. Right? So today's session will open up your eyes to significant things. It will, if you will be attentive to understand that what our faculties have to teach today, many things will get cleared. Many must have of your doubts have got cleared in the first 2 days. So therefore, concentrate on it. Keep on asking questions relating to the session, and also feedback forms have been emailed to you. Whenever the session gets over, you can give a feedback for the speaker. I encourage you, you have been giving your feedback through the live link. Fill that feedback also for a detailed feedback, and we will continuously see that all the doubts are clear and you are prepared well. So, allow me to introduce our two learned speakers. We have the Rajiv Hira. I know Rajiv from the past 4 years, and Rajiv is one of the most famous speakers on taxation and on internal audit and related laws related to base erosion, the changes which are happening in this world today. He is a high caliber finance professional with an experience of leading roles in private and multinational financial institutions for over 25 years in the area of technology implementation, process design, risk management, compliance, and management consultancy. He is a founder of RHMC Management Consultants. He was one of the most important contributor for the VAT initiatives which were taken in UAE when the VAT was introduced from January 1st, 2018. He is an author of ICAI publications on UAE VAT along with the other contributors. And he is always encouraged to share the knowledge in these subjects. We are very lucky to have him today, and his presence today will make a significant difference in the lives of each one of us. The second speaker we have, where the session will be conducted together by them, is CA Jayaprakash Agarwal. I know him from the past 4 years, same time as I know Rajiv. Jay is also one of the top contributors of the implementation of UAE VAT and is also an author like Rajiv. Jay is more on the side of a technology. He is a rank holder chartered accountant with 15 plus years of experience across industry, ranging from consultancy, technology, telecommunication, manufacturing, and healthcare. He was a part of GST implementation in India and is actively involved in VAT implementation for a major player in healthcare industry in UAE. He is a VAT enthusiast and loves talking about VAT and its implications. As I said that, he is an Oracle specialized consultant, mainly working in the healthcare industry. And today, our two learned speakers will be taking us into the great journey for the next 170 minutes or so, which we have. So, allow me to welcome them with a virtual round of applause from wherever you are. Please welcome our speakers, and I hand over the floor to Rajiv. Thank you. Rajiv, over to you.
Thank you, Pradeepji. I think I'll just start with one very interesting thing. In the meantime, I'll share the screen also. So when a child is born, we start counting the number of days he is born for. So like we have young chartered accountants, so we are counting how many days you have got into the degree and qualification. Then it moves into number of months, years, and then suddenly you start realizing we go round of the 5 years. So Pradeep has done the same thing for me. Thanks, Pradeepji. So we are going to talk about a lot of things on the financial statement analysis and the story, art of story. So I think communication, which Pradeep has raised 5 very, very critical points, and you have raised those critical points during the last conversations. I can say these are important. There is no second thought to it. And I'm being part of the last 2 days also. I looked at how the speakers have taken up. It was amazing. I love the way Gulneet has picked up the HR skills and told you the intricacies of what need to be done. And Girish has added up a flavor of his practical experience in the industry for a number of years and held very critical positions in the Middle East from his experience perspective. Amit Arora gave a very holistic view, and I'm in love with his voice and the way he delivers the lecture. So that's what Amit has done. And Anand Soni sir has given a very good perspective on how the CFO and the CEO can look at the C categories as a very important journey which we all admire and aspire to reach to. So that's where we look at it, and we are going to touch across a lot of things. To be honest, when I'm preparing for last 3-4 days on this session, I really lived up back to my memory or olden days when I qualified. So the day I qualified, there is a story attached to it. So remember yourself, if there is something happening in your life which may not be very positive, what are you doing? You're not looking, or you're not hitting the failure, but you are hitting the story. So I'll give a very small story which happened the day I qualified. The day result came, that was a day there was no internet, so the result has to be seen physically. Whole night we were not able to have a proper sleep, so it was a sleepless night. Early morning, I took up my two-wheeler, reached to ITO office, which was I'm from Delhi. So I reached to ITO office, and on the by lane, if you remember, maybe you're going to that office. On the by lane, which is next to income tax office, there is a side shop. There used to be some tea stall also. Next to that, the board was there, and which shows us that I'm pass. Wow, that's an excitement. Came back home, because till that time we have not got the result. With the result, that means how much score I have done for each subject. So I qualified both the groups in one go, but very excited to know which group or which subject has helped me to clear both the groups. So there was a negative thoughts also, but there was a positive thought also to look at. So went back home because it was a good time. However, I thought it's a good gratitude, and I felt, let me not have water or a food, and I want to visit a place of worship before I have something. And it was a hot summer. I reached back, stood in the queue in the institute, waiting for the counter and get my marks, because that was delivered at the counter itself. And because of the heat, I got a heat stroke and suddenly fell down. There are 2-3 people who came, just took me, gave me a shoulder, and they took me into the room, which was a air cooler was there. They made me just stand in front of it, and I was perfectly fine. I had a sip of water, and I was okay. And I could see a lot of hands on my shoulder. They're saying, "It's okay, Rajiv. It's okay. Don't worry. It's always a second attempt." And that was the immediate message went to my brain. I said, "Hello, hold on. I cleared my exam." And suddenly people gave me a congratulations and moved on. So, but that's a story. I fell down. It stays as a memory. It stays as a story into the.
Recording has started.
So we'll go into the storylines of how we can build up stories to something which is happening positive, negative in our life. And there is always a connect. Try to bring up pictures in your life. Try to bring up the image of how we can work it on. So let's start. I think the session is going amazingly well, and we are looking forward for another 4 days also, and the third day which is going in as we talk. So you can see the gentlemen or the speakers who are there, and there is a story behind that also. So you can see a poster which seriously says, "Proud to be a chartered accountant." It's not a word, and it's really a pride, and we carry it on the shoulders. You can see a CA batch is with me, and we all carry this as a pride. So it's not only a statement which we do. Now beyond that, you need to identify what's the story which is coming up. So let's see if you can identify what this symbol depicts to. And I would like to know from you, maybe you can WhatsApp the message if you understood it before. We'll love to do that. It's a simple symbolic of J, which is holding your hands, and you can see a Prakash or a light in between. So that's a name which Jai Prakash has. So I'm connecting the thoughts and connecting the stories into the names also. So now there is again a name of me which is being depicted. You can see a lotus flower which symbolizes the name of Rajiv, and a diamond which is Hira. So that's what comes into me. So I'm sure we are going to add up some value, and Jay is going to define a lot of Prakash into the discussion which we move into. And he's quite a amazing and enthusiastic person we talk about. Now, whenever we have a discussion, there is always a point comes, I'm getting an intuition to do something. Now, what is intuition and how it comes? So a lot of people say that I'm getting an intuition, let me go into the practice, or I'm having an intuition, let me go to the industry, or whichever field within the industry also you want to get into. What is intuition? A general terminology, if I say, when one feels true, even without having a conscious reasoning. That's what the dictionary meaning says. But I strongly believe differently. And this is being a statement which is said by Albert Einstein. It says, the intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. Now, it doesn't mean that we need to just go on the gut feeling. We need to take some decisions on the gut feeling. We have to create it a story into what's happening in our life and what's going to happen to what we are going to achieve or take a steps on. I'll take you further. I think this is the old story which everyone must have heard for, but I'm going to bring one aspect which is where we are standing, and a lot of questions which are coming up, as I heard in the yesterday's 2 sessions, will clear some cloud from there. Now the story goes back, just to bring everyone on the same page. An elephant, when it is a small child, or just a newborn elephant, what the Mahavat does, he just ties a rope on his leg, the elephant's leg. And the elephant tries it, since it's a very young elephant, not having too much power. He tries few times, 100 times, and then suddenly gives it up. But the same rope or the similar rope stands it till the time elephant has got 100 times more power also. Now, what it stands for and where it stands for. Now, if you see from the financial number or the data or the statistics, I will say the 100th time elephant has tried to break the rope and was unsuccessful. So if I use this statistics, I use this data, what should be my result? My result is, no, you cannot be successful again. But the facts have changed. Now the new facts is, now this elephant has 100 times more strength than she or he was before. So you are now a chartered accountant. So you're a qualified chartered accountant. So what you were before, few days or few months back, and what you are today is very different. So trust in yourself, trust in your gut, trust in your appeal, and there are a lot of things which are going to change as we move along. So this elephant story clearly denotes that the numbers don't talk. The fact, we need to analyze the facts which are changing day in and day out. You will find in an industry that there are no profits for a number of years, but suddenly you see the profit has come up. So why has come up? Because the elephant has changed. Elephant has got a different strength. Elephant has got a very different dynamics of what he or she is going to fight for. So you all are a big elephant with 100 times more power which you had before the qualification and now. And I can tell you, all the people who are sitting here being qualified for a number of years also are feeling the same kind of a strength because of the profession, because of the alma mater from where we got qualified. It's not easy, it's not a joke for cracking this exam. Now, coming back to the intuition which I said, we just say that just take a decision and that's intuition. So that's not the fact. Intuition defines with a lot of aspects. What happens in our life, we identify the decisions. Now the decisions can be anything in the corporate world, in the personal life, whatever we talk about. You identify what decision you have to take, and the next step is you gather the information. Now once you gather the information can be statistics, can be the numbers, can be maybe the story also. So you know why you're taking the decision, what you're taking. So you gather the information, and then you identify what are the best alternatives you have. So once you identify the alternatives you have, you choose among the alternatives. Now how you choose amongst the alternatives is becoming an increasing question, which I can see from your statements also coming up, what I should do, what kind of a career I should get into, and then you take a decision. So if you see, there are 5-step approach. There is no one approach. Now people say that this is intuition. I say no, this is not an intuition. Even if you are going to buy a mobile phone and you pick up a mobile phone, you say, wow, this looks beautiful and I want to buy this mobile phone. It's not pure intuition. There is a lot of information which you have gathered. You gathered it, whether it's an Apple or it's an Android based application, whether it has this much of memory, all those information is in front of you. Yes, your processing is fast. Yes, you have got an experience. Yes, you have practiced it. And yes, you have a desire to look beyond what is shown to you. So you know the facts, and that's where the intuition or the story comes into play. So every time we see the data, every time we see the number, there are decisions which people take. There are decisions which people take on account of even hiring the new candidates. They're not hiring just for the sake of, yeah, this guy or this person is going to be good for my organization. They're judging you for various things which you have, judging you for the various aspects which you have. So when we talk about intuition, don't believe that's purely a gut feel. So intuition is not a gut or a guess. It's an outcome of experience, practice, and desire to look beyond what is shown to you. I'm underlining the statement, look beyond what is shown to you is the most important thing. You will face that in your career, in your world, and everything when you look at it. And it's applicable at a personal level and at a professional level. It is applicable to me also as we talk right now. Now, there are a lot of stories, so let me add up one more story which comes into. Let's see how we challenge it. Maybe some of you have seen this story. You can see rats on the screen. So there are a few rats which came up in a city, and the city was full of rats. So that's a problem statement which came up to the government, and the government said, how we eradicate this problem? They calculated approximately. They said there are approximately 1 million rats. We need to do some calculation. We need to do some working to eradicate these rats. And what the decision was done. So the government said, let's solve the problem. So all they sat in the desk. They had a meeting. The board meeting was called for, or the government meeting was called for. And government announced that if you bring one rat, we will reward you with $1 for each rat. So this is a problem solving technique which was developed. So that means we have 1 million rats. So if you spend $1 million, we'll be eradicated with rats. So that's how the problem statement starts into. People of the place, they said, let's work with the government, and they started looking at rats, picking them, catching them, and they bring it back to the federal government or the place where this problem started off. And every time they hand over a rat, they get $1. The government collected a lot of rats in this process, and within 1 month, the government has seen that we have already paid $1 million, and now looks like the problem is resolved. Do you think the problem is resolved? Just a question to you. Maybe you can text, you can message, you can put up your thoughts into this point. Now, this is the problem solving technique which is resolved. Now, numbers are telling us, yeah, wow, $1, 1 million rats, $1 paid, that means 1 million rats collected, so the problem is technically resolved. But that's not the fact. Now see the story, what has happened. In this process, actually the problem got multifold. Why? Because when I know I'm getting $1 for a rat, I started farming rats for the price money. And when you start farming rats for the price money, the problem is not getting solved. But what are we doing is, we are feeding the problem. So we are feeding the problem. We are not solving the problem. We are feeding the problem. The problem is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. So the numbers do talk. Numbers are interesting, but we need to look at what we need to see from a numbers perspective. Is the solution working? And when we're looking at solution which is working or not working, we are not looking at the problem. We are looking at people also, from where we are resolving the problem. We are looking at the jurisdiction or the location also. We are looking at atmosphere also. We are looking at within the principles or what kind of integrity the people surrounding us are working with. So everything has to be looked at when we look at a problem solving. So these are some small stories which we are talking. Now, as a chartered accountant, even I used to believe storytelling is fine, but I'm a chartered accountant. And really, we talked about figures, numbers. How can I be having a jokes or creating a story out of it? So that's a question which we always look at. Accounting is pure, cold and hard facts. So answer is always black and white. No. The answer is never black and white. We, as a professional, always need to look at the shades of gray, the gray which is coming in between, which is neither yes, neither no. What are the stories behind that? Unless and until you don't identify the stories, it's very difficult to play the profession. And we are going to talk about this. So I'm very...
Yes, Rajiv, I would like to share, we had many participants who shared that the problem didn't got solved. So they understood regarding the rat. Some of them have given a view that problem could have reduced as rats could be multiplied. No problem still exists as how to take care of rats. Problem is created. And many have answered just no.
Perfect. So that's a perfect inclination, or you can say perfect catch up which is coming up. So be with the action plan, and there's a lot more we're going to talk about that. So let's look at some of the broad things which we talk about. So we have a complex issues and situations. Yes, definitely. We are not working in a perfect world. We are not working in a world where everything is is completely aligned. We have complex numbers. And what we need to do is we need to do something to convert a complex issue into a complex numbers, and from there expelling the complexities to easy to understand data where the decision can be taken. So Jay has some interesting things which he's going to show exactly on the analytical tools usage and how the data can be moved from a complex to an easy to understand data. We're going to talk about that in a while from now. Moving further, there are so many things which we can look at. So the data which we have has to be converted into information, to knowledge, and to wisdom. Now you are in the situation where you're looking for a job or a profession, or you're in a multi-way. I will not say a single way or a two-way or a three-way. There are multi-way directions you can take. You have a data. You know your capabilities. You know the capabilities or the desires or the job objectives which the organizations are going to offer you, or in a practice you can get into. You have that data. You have to convert that data into information. Now, what the information can be in this case, what are your interests? What is your strength? What are your weaknesses? There are two principles we always work on. One, work on your weaknesses. That's one principle. And the second is work on your strength. So it's not always good to start learning something new to fight the world or to get into a challenging atmosphere and get into a growth aspect. There can be a situation where you get into strengthening your strengths which you have. You know you are good in audit. Why don't you go ahead with that? You know you are good in taxation. Why don't you go to that? So there are multiple things which always comes in. We have to work on the balance of both. And then comes a knowledge. That means you have a data in front of you. You know these are the three offers which I am sitting with. And the wisdom is where you take a decision and move on. So this is our pyramid, and which we just talked about from an example perspective. And that's what we have to drive to into multifolds and see how we progress on that direction. Now, there are multiple stories which we can build in. First is begin with a question. What is the audience going to learn? Set up your story. So if I know my audience, if I don't know my audience, my presentation can be very different. My storytelling can be very different. My data analysis can be very different. I'll give you a perspective. Are you talking from an investor side or you're talking from a seller side? That means if you go to the market, are you a buyer of the product or you're a seller of the product? In both cases, you are taking different approach. You are taking decisions from a very different angle. So look at what side you are sitting with or what audience you are having to address to take care of. Who is your client? Whose interest you are working with? The decision or the information has to be in that order. A very typical example, if you see, now this is a normal analogy we talked about, kitna deti hai. So this is a bike. Now there is a junk bike you can see. An average fuel consumption of this bike is 10 km per liter. How much are you going to pay for this bike? Are you going to buy it itself or not? Is a question which comes into. Now this is a fact, a data in front of you, but you don't know the story. Unless and until you don't know the story, it's very difficult to get into a data analysis. I'll give you the story for this. Now this is a bike which was there in Sholay and the same model or the same bike which is standing in front of you. Now there is a story behind the same scrap bike which you said I may not be able to pay 1,000 or 2,000 dirham rupees also. Now you are ready to pay something because it's a vintage. You have built up a story. Bike is same. It has not changed. Scrap is same. It has not changed. The junk is same. It has not changed. But what has changed is you know the story behind this bike, and now you will qualify to be vintage and you will say, no, even I can buy this for 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 rupees or whatever comes into. And you are definitely changing your decision for the price which you are going to pay before and now. Because even if you are having a restaurant and you are making this bike stand outside and you say this is a vintage bike and being used in the Sholay movie, the things are going to be very different. You're getting the connect where it comes into. You started with what's an average, and now you are talking about a vintage. You are paying an exorbitant price for the vehicle which is in front of you. And you are now in that category where you're getting into a different direction. Now, the second insight, again, something very interesting which comes into. What do the number mean and what do they imply in real life? When we look at numbers, we always talk about broadly two things are there in the market right now: profit and second, customer base. There are organizations which are working behind earning huge profits, and there are organizations which are behind in acquiring the number of customer base. Now, what is the implication which is coming up? If I tell you I have a product where a product or a profit per product is coming as $10, I have another product where the profit per product is coming as $1. Let me know your answer. Maybe you can put on the chat side also which product line you are going to get into, which product you are going to invest in if you are an investor, or which is your buying option out of these two products which are in front of you. Let's understand what impact you're giving.
I will go for product with profit of $10. I mean, it's $10, right?
Perfectly fine, Jay. So $10 is a too much money instead of $1, because $9 more. And if I have 1,000, then I'm getting $9,000 more. Wow, interesting.
Ritika says 10. Yeah, so I request others also to please quickly bring in. You can just type the number.
So again, we are talking about the number and the story. So you have the numbers, and Jay has taken a decision, Ritika has taken a decision on the numbers. But what is story behind the numbers? Let's understand that story.
Yeah, we say Isha, Abhinav says it depends upon demand. Wow. Isha says that it depends upon how many products we are selling.
Super. So people are...
Yeah, we have three, we have a few more. Shehzad says, what is the turnover of it?
Beautiful.
Abhinav Garg says, please tell demand. Dharma says, number of customers. Preeti says, profit with maximum sales and profit of $10.
Perfect.
And depends on units sold. Rohit says, volume of product. Chetan says, units sold.
Super.
Yeah. So a lot of answers are coming now.
We are getting into the right direction where people have started looking and asking the story. Tell me the story. Don't show me the numbers. So that's the objective of the session. I think we are achieving it out in the right direction. Yes, you are right. So we have a profit, which is one side. We have a customer base, which is another side. So now this is the story. The $10 you're getting from a movie theater and $1 you're getting per customer from a Netflix equivalent platform, where my customer base is multiple ways. I'm not restricted to the country. I'm not restricting to the city. I can do this product globally. So the star comes is to $1. So Jay, the answer gets changed. You have to get a Netflix endorsement also from that perspective. So coming back to everyone has
Rajiv, one thing I would like to share, one of the participants, Manisha, she had shared the word story. She says profit on the basis of story.
Perfect. So beautiful. I think we are in the right direction, and we are in the story world right now. This is one thing which you're talking about. And right now, if you just start looking at the profitability of larger e-commerce companies, maximum are not profitable as we talk right now. But what is being sold or what the investors are investing is not today. They're investing in tomorrow. They're investing in the customer base. They're investing in future selling, which is going to happen. So any kind of a valuation, any kind of a profitability will look. We don't have assets. We don't have profits. We only have customer base, and which has a futuristic outlook. So every transaction right now in the world which is coming up is coming with a good story. And what story you pick up from there is the most important thing we're talking about. So I think that's a message which we want to give from a very loud perspective. Don't look at only numbers. See what is the story behind that. And that's the thing which is going to happen to anyone. Don't look at how many attempts you took to clear your exams. You qualified. And the story starts from your qualification. Now again, one more thing comes is to know how to cater your audience. Who is the audience we are talking about? Everyone talks about let's build up a profit. So there is only, since number of years we are into practice, there are only two broad methods to get into a profit. One, you increase the revenue. That means you increase the sales. Two, you reduce the cost. These are the two broad methods which are running from the day the businesses have started and till date. And I think future also the same thing going to happen from a revenue or profitability perspective. Now imagine if I ask a question to my sales team that reduce the cost. And I asked my question to my operations team to increase the revenue? Am I asking the right thing to the right people? What do you think the sales team has to do with the cost of operations? Cost of operations is managed by the operations team. Sales team should be driven to push the sales forward, to get the maximum units sold in the market, to get the most transactions done in the market. And whereas operations team is to drive to bring up the most economical way of running the business. Can we work from home? Can we reduce the cost of workstations? Can we have number of shifts which can be multiplied to do a back-end operations? Can we bring technology? So these all are what? Cost reduction methods. So ask the question to the right person. That becomes an important integral part in the story when we build it up.
Yeah, Rajiv, sorry to interrupt you. We have a question by Malika where she is asking that where everyone is interacting. So I need to tell Malika and all others that where you have typed that question, there only interaction of all of you is coming. So whenever the Rajiv or Jay ask questions, put it there only, and then we will engage with that answer of yours. That is the only medium for you to send your answers.
Perfect. So loving to see the interaction which is happening, and we will do some more actions and we are going to pick up some questions as we go into some breaks also. So moving into further, the accounting and storylines are multiple things. If you know the balance sheet, I'm sure you know it's just a photograph as on date, as on time. Whereas when we talk about a profit and loss, what we are talking about, a period. That means we are watching a movie. So Jay is going to take some more interesting analogies in this part. Now this is again a story. You know balance sheet what it is. You know profit and loss what it is. What you brought up in front of you is something interesting. Something which is visually connected. Something which you can remember for long. And I'm sure you are going to love to use this kind of a presentation skills in your future endeavors wherever you get into. Now, again, one more aspect. Are we looking at a microscopic view or an astronomical view? Both has a very different aspect. Am I looking at the coronavirus problem, or am I looking at a Mars where I can shift a larger population base and work it on? Both has very different analogies. Both has a very different outlooks. So when you have a conversation with your seniors, with your peer group, with your team, look at what's the communication is happening. If you're talking about, let's have an expansion globally, and you're talking about, sir, you know, our paper consumption has gone multifold in last 3 months. Is it there a connect? Talk based on the chunks. Talk based on what's happening. If a strong astronomical view is happening or astronomical discussion is happening, you need to get into that shoe. Maybe it will take some time. That's perfectly fine. And if there's a microscopic view is happening, that means your boss is saying, I have seen the electricity bill of last few months has gone high in the manufacturing sector. What can we do? And that time you don't bring up a discussion. So why don't we bring up into various locations? It can be an answer when you are getting into the large industry and you say the electricity of that country is cheaper. So can we go to that country and achieve it? Yes, possible. It's possible that that country has, which you are bringing up on a discussion, has other means of electricity which are much cheaper than where you are based into. But look at the chunk in and check out and the objective where you are getting into. So these are the most important things which comes into any conversation when we get into. And look at the story. So this is what we are talking about, an audience. A story needs an audience and it should cater to that audience. The same financials, the same balance sheet, the same organization, and tax accountant will look from a different eye. A banker, when he's lending or opening a current account even for you, is looking at a very different eye. An investor will have a very different perspective. A regulator, that means if you are, let's say example, you're working in a bank or an insurance company, the regulator is vouching you on a different aspect. He's vouching you whether you are fair and honest with the customers or not, whether your trade practices are aligned as per the regulatory framework or not. All those things the regulator is watching. There, he's not interested in what profit you make or you don't make. He's interested from looking at, yes, you have to make a reasonable profit. Your capital adequacy should be right as per the standard. You are not into the loss-making business. And the main objective is to ensure that the customer base which is maintained by you or the organization is intact in the right way. An employee is going to look at a very different perspective. If I tell you there is an offer which is coming up from an employer who has not paid salaries for last 3 months, but the profit is multi-million dollars, are you going to join that organization? Maybe answer is no, because you are looking at how comfortable the employees, or what is the employee strengths, or what are the benefits employees are getting in that organization. So that's a different eye which you're going to watch into. Customers are looking at an organization at a very different level. You may have maintaining profits, but if you are not trustworthy, honest, and credible to the customer will not like it. Similarly, suppliers are also choosy right now, whether you will be able to make the payment back or not, irrespective of your profits. You may be earning multi-million dollars, but if your payment cycle is not very good, supplier may not come back to you. And the auditor, which is again an angle which comes into auditors. Every person who is there in the audience is looking at the transaction or looking at the financials number is a very different perspective. So our question or our view is, whenever and whichever position you are, how you envisage, how you calculate, how you articulate, and how you analyze the numbers are going to be very different. Your term sheets, your data which is getting analyzed from the financials, from the data, is going to be very different perspective and going to share a very different lines of sight. I have a very simple, a short statement to give you. We keep talking about creating a brief profile, a large profile, talking about so many things. I want to meet my CEO of the company. Imagine you're working in a large organization of, let's say, 10,000 employees. It's very difficult to connect with a CEO, right? Now, you get into a lift and you find the CEO in the lift, and it takes 2 minutes for you to reach the destination. What are you going to do at that time? Are you going to say good morning, namaskar, or what to the CEO, and you waste your 2 minutes? Or are you prepared to give an impressive statement which makes that CEO talk to you and tell, let's catch up in a meeting room soon or in a few days? That's perfectly fine. Just make your statement, just make your catch, just make your profile which can be calculated and told in 2 minutes so that you can create an impression to your thought process. This happened to me and I utilized it effectively, and that's a dent which is there in my mind, which has created a lot of impact in my professional career also. So don't underestimate the value of 2 minutes. Don't underestimate the value of communication. You have to come out of your shell. If you believe you are hesitant to talk, start practicing. And you have Yes, Jay, please.
This is right. 2 minutes is important. My question is how much time you need to prepare for it. Whether I have to be very spontaneous asking that question, or there's preparation involved. I mean, you have to get into it. These 2 minutes are important, but is there a preparation involved before arriving for those 2 minutes?
Yeah, I have a question for you. Who is the sprint person in the world who has achieved the fastest run for 100 meters? The question can be all the students also.
Usain Bolt.
Let's look at. Okay. You know how much time he ran in his life?
I think many years before he could do that in seconds. That's for sure.
So he has run only for few minutes in his life and is the richest sports person in the world. Do we think has only achieved by running for the few seconds or few minutes which he has achieved? Answer is no. The preparation has gone for years and years and years and years. And the preparation is not only for running. The preparation is for mindset. The preparation is for positivity. The preparation is for the strength which he has gained physically. The preparation is a mental strength which he has gained, not to give up. So this 2 minutes is what we are talking about, is definitely a preparation time. And to be honest, if I have to revise, I am revising now also my 2 minutes.
Rajiv, we have a point brought up by Shehzad who says prepare for an elevator pitch.
Perfect. That's the perfect statement which you gave. And to be honest, this has happened practically with me and many more people, I can say, in the industry side, where they got an opportunity to talk, speak, or give a impression. and they got the deal or the agreement or the storyline working for you. You never know when you approach even for the campus interview, who will catch up you in what place. A lot of people have seen the Bazaar movie, right? You remember the washroom scene. It was hardly a 2-minute discussion and the deal changed. So there are opportunities you need to be prepared for.
Rajiv, Malika is asking, Rajiv, Malika is asking if you can share your 2-minute story.
Yeah, sure, I will. So let me give a broad or a short story of how my career span has changed. I qualified, and once I qualified, I joined a Delhi-based firm, and that was into a non-banking financial institution. From there, my career started off. I took a few years with the NBFC, worked and collated a lot of information which is required to get NBFC registered at that time, because that was the starting spears. And then I got an offer where a manufacturing group, which is Aditya Birla Group, was hiring, and I moved myself from Delhi to Gwalior. Imagine for a Delhiite to moving to Gwalior was a challenge. A lot of people said, "No, Rajiv, what are you doing? You are moving into a smaller city." I said, "No worries. I am going to give few years to my career, and I'm not going to question where the career takes me to." And I moved to Gwalior. It was a very good move from me, because that's a period, that's a place where I earned and learned how the manufacturing setup works into. From there, I got an opportunity with an ICICI Bank. That was a dream job. And this dream job took me to the 2-minute elevator discussion. So when I joined ICICI Bank, I was a customer service manager and started my career. And within the 3 months span, I got an opportunity to meet the head of operations. And that was exactly a 2-minute kind of a discussion where they interacted with me and asked me few questions. And that was an opportunity gave me. And I stated a statement. I said, "Sir, I had given myself 5 years not to ask for where I land, what I do, but I definitely want to learn more in those positions." And that was a conversation which closed. And to my surprise, on the same evening, my boss called me, said, "Rajiv, we have an offer for you." I said, "Wow, what's that?" You remember, I am a customer accounts manager at that time. They said, "We are appointing you as a regional head for East. Will you be interested?" Again, moving back from Delhi to Calcutta was a story. And I said, "Wow, Calcutta, I don't know the language even. How can I survive?" But I took back my thoughts. I said, "No, I have given myself an opportunity to look at what I can learn." And I immediately accepted that offer. And that took and started my banking career. And 15 years I work in the banking industry, 5 years with ICICI Bank and the Standard Chartered Bank. And there's so many 2-minute stories came into that discussion. Because after the regional office, after the having a regional experience, every time you get into an opportunity, you give presentations, you give an impact. And once you're giving impact, you are moving very fast track. I worked in ICICI Bank for close to 5 years and got 4 promotions. I worked in Standard Chartered Bank for 10 years and I moved my base from a very different locations I started from Chennai in Standard Chartered Bank, moved to Bombay. From Bombay, I came to UAE, and that was a move which was within the bank. And then I started my own practice 4 years back. Again, when I started my practice, there was a discussion which was happening. People said, "People die to get into the banking industry and you're leaving it. What is that?" I said, "That's my admiration." Now again, some of you can ask a question. "Rajiv, why practice? What is important? Why not you have started a practice from a day one?" I can tell you the 15-year experience in the banking industry helped me to get the requisite skill which I have now to talk to you. So nothing goes waste, nothing goes empty. Every day is an experience, every day is a learning, and you have to make yourself grow again and again. I will not again say that none of us sitting here have not encountered the setbacks. We have, and we have. But that's life. If you get everything as positive, knock yourself, you're not taking risk. Knock yourself, you're not getting into the right direction. So that's a 2-minute story, which I just want to highlight you. And there are a lot, not only 2 minutes, there are going to be full day presentations which you're going to do in your team with yourself, whether you are into profession, whether you're into practice, whether you are into industry, whatever you do, you have to come out of the shell. And that's the most important thing. So coming back, so my Jay Prakash is back here. So Prakash, all for you.
Thank you. Love that part. Can I share my screen now? Perfect. I loved your story, Rajiv. Has so much inspirations on to take from it. But let's go back to stories. Friends, I know everyone is doing it. Let me just give me a minute to share my screen. And if you are able to see my screen, Rajiv, Prabdeep, any can give me a confirmation that you are able to see my screen. Perfect. So I see
Yeah, it is visible.
Perfect. So I see a thumbs up. I got a confirmation. You are seeing us financials. My dear friends, you're chartered accountants, right? And chartered accountants deal with numbers that we heard. And we also said numbers should be talking stories. Now, when you are preparing your story, we talked about stories. I want to relate them. When I was talking to Rajiv and said we have to do a joint session, my thing was, okay, we'll do the joint session, but I need to understand how to connect the numbers to the story. When you will go into your jobs or into your practice, idea is I'll be dealing with my financial statements and you are talking stories, right? How to connect them. So I will give you practical examples, but let's create the base, because if base is clear, we'll be able to relate to it. To start off, we talked about it, have a story. Without that, people will not be able to remember it. Go to your childhood days. Your grandparents, your parents used to tell you stories. Why? Because they wanted you to retain it, right? That is why story is important. Story helps you to retain it. And your idea, being a chartered accountant, in your jobs, in your profession, will be to give those stories so that they can relate to it. Your owners can relate to it. Your stakeholders can relate to it, and they can arrive at a decision. Just giving blank numbers will not work. When you're going for your campus, think, if you're answering a question, if you're not talking numbers and giving a proper story, they'll be able to relate to it. That will help you to crack the interview. So story is important. And when I say story, if it's only an interview, obviously it will be only a narration of words. But if you get a chance of doing a presentation, have visuals. Visuals you are able to connect more than the numbers. I'll show you the slides where I have created visuals for you, how exactly you can relate to it. I am positive once you see them, you will also say, yes, visuals are important. How to do it? That's a different story. Don't worry, I will cover it. But have visuals, have words, small words, few words, but visuals will speak louder than your numbers. Provide context. Any number, any story, you don't have a context. If you remember stories, I go back to my childhood. When stories are there is always a moral to the story, right? What is moral? Moral is the context. After the end of the story, you need to arrive at a conclusion. What exactly I'm taking away from that story? That is context. You should know where exactly you are heading to. If you flash stories, if you flash numbers, and you are not able to live the last statement, which every owner, every stakeholder, every one of your peers need to take away, even your interviewer, he has to have that last statement which is in his head when he's just selecting out of all the 100 CVs, he's selecting you, that, okay, this guy was good. He remembers that last statement, the context which you leave to him after your numbers and visuals. Be clear and concise. Remember, you will see it. I will show you on the screens. There is noise. When you talk about a story, when you talk about a case study, I call it a noise. Noise is something which is there on the paper, on the case study, but has no relevance to where you are heading to, right? If you know where you are heading to and you understand what is noise, noise does not add any value. In any case study, in any interviews, you have to understand in the lines, in 5 lines, which interviewer has asked you, in your financial statement analysis, which your business has given it to you, there'll be noises. Cut them out. Okay, you have to be very clear as to what exactly the precise question. Read between the lines. No one will tell you. That will come from your experience. The way you will get involved, you will interact more, you will understand how exactly to interpret the right question. Go on that. Be clear, okay, and be honest. We don't have to fuzz the numbers. We don't have to, just bring the numbers based on whatever you feel like. Be honest how exactly you arrived at it, what exactly your story is, how exactly you arrived at the numbers and other stuff. Sir, this is theoretical. I will not go theoretical. We are accountants. We will go to the numbers and I will take you to numbers. Don't worry. But please understand, when I say story, two things which Raji was talking about was camera. What was camera? If you remember, camera was nothing but a balance sheet. Why? Because it's a snapshot. You are getting a snapshot of a period, that is balance sheet. What is video? Video is profit and loss, because it's like a story which is for the period you are seeing, okay, what is the movement of the stuff. That is why it's called a video, right? There are two more modes of telling a story. One is balance sheet, one is profit and loss. Balance sheet or a camera is also telling you a story. When you see a photograph, go to your childhood days, pick up your album, check that photo. Once you check a photo, you have a story behind it. That photo is talking to you, right? That photo is talking to you. You are getting some flashes from your past. That is why there is a story for every camera photo. Similarly, when you watch a video, go and see your reunion video of your schools, colleges, last day of memories. You will have a video, you will have a story to tell to your friends, to your parents, to your colleagues. That is why I say both of them are carrying a story. Surveillance camera is my third one. Just think about it. What can be it? Surveillance camera, I call it, how to remember it, I call it cash flow statement. What is cash flow statement? Is again a surveillance. When you need something, you go to cash flow statement to understand what happened during it. It also carries a story. Surveillance camera, you store it for some time, for a period, and you try to gather the story if required. Otherwise, your primary focus is always your camera and a video. But surveillance camera, I call it cash flow statement. And the last one, which you see, books, is the primitive which carries the story. I mean, this is where the story business started, right? And what is this? This is notes to accounts. My dear friends, these are the 4 ways you can have the story. And this is nothing but your numbers, balance sheet, profit and loss, cash flows, notes to accounts. What is this? Financial statements. Together they form financial statements, and together they represent for me. And I was discussing with Rajiv the other day. We said, boss, camera, video, surveillance camera, books, all these carry stories. These are the only medium of carrying the stories. And if these are stories, how to relate to it? If I have related to this, can I relate and create a story out of it? Yes, sir, you can create a story out of it, because numbers talk. Sir, I have not seen numbers talking. I'm seeing you talking, but I have not seen numbers talking. I have done my papers. I have given my papers writing, but I have not seen them talking. I have tallied my balance sheet. I know the profit and loss. I understand cash flow statement. I understand the notes to account which needs to be attached with all the financials. But when does number talk to us? How exactly it will talk to us? The numbers do talk to you, but what you have to do is you have to first understand all these statements you have always seen in silos, okay? But these are interconnected. They have so much interdependency and they communicate so much with themselves that if you start looking beyond it, they will also talk to you. But you have to relate to it, right? How to relate to it, sir? You have to know how to look for it. Who will tell me? Sir, your experience will tell you. You start interacting. There are a lot of stuff. You don't need to have a 9-hour session or a 30-page session to understand it. You are a fresher, right? But you have things to pick up. There is a world of internet. There is a world of books from where you can pick it up. You have to know where to look. And when you start looking into it, you will know numbers are talking to you. Will I give you an example of numbers talking to you? Yes, I will give you an example. You will see it on the screen and numbers will talk to you and you will relate to it. Only thing is you should know how to look into it. Okay. And when you will start looking into it, my dear friends, it will be easy for you to crack your interviews. It will be easy for you to run your businesses. It will be easy for you to do your jobs, because you will be walking ahead of the business. You will know where exactly the cracks are. You will know where exactly I have to shout it out. I have to voice it out that we are moving in the wrong direction, or this direction is right. We have to more focus on it because numbers have started talking to you. Okay. बहुत theory हुआ. I told you the theory, right? Let's see practically. I have given you something on your screens. I miss those sessions. I mean, Pradeep sir, I will tell you, I miss those sessions when it was physical. When it was physical, we used to talk. Your eyes used to talk to me. I used to see your eyes. I could understand whom to choose, and we used to have interactive sessions. Now, since this is more of a virtual session, I'm not able to interact with you, but let's try to decode this. What exactly I'm seeing on my screen? I'm seeing 3 years. I'm seeing revenue 2018, 19, 20, which is on a declining trend from 10 million to 8 million to 7 million. It's a declining trend. Capacity utilization is 75%. Okay. It has increased to 85. Then it is increased to 90%. Depreciation is constant, which gives me a feeling that there has not been any capital expenditures, and that is again shown by the last line where it is not showing any capital expenditures. What do you think? These are numbers, right? Are these numbers talking to me? They are talking to me. Are these numbers talking to you? It will. Just think about it. When you are not spending anything on capital expenditure, your capacity utilization has gone from 75 to 85 to 90% of your machinery is getting utilized, and your revenue is in dip, and you are still not spending on your capital expenditure. What it says about business, where exactly it is heading to. You have to ask, are we going to shut down? Are we going on a declining mode? Because your revenue is already dipping. Your utilization is high. If you see a market for your product, why you are not spending on your capital? Why it is completely dead? Why it is completely silent? This is something which you have to look into it. This is where the numbers are talking. Revenue, from where I picked the revenue? I picked from profit and loss account. Capacity utilization, from my notes to accounts, what exactly my capacity utilization of machinery has been. Depreciation, again from P&L. Capital expenditure from my balance sheet as well as from my cash flow statement. If you remember financing activities give me a clear indication what is capital expenditure. All these numbers lying in three different statements, talking together and telling me, boss, where exactly your business is heading to. You can also ask the question, is business confident about the product? Your revenue is on decline. Your utilization is at the max 90%. You are still not investing in your capital expenditure. Are you confident that your product will survive? Otherwise, please think about it. See, it's talking to me. Hopefully it will be talking to you. Since I cannot see you on the screens, I don't know whether you are getting the message or not, but I will take one more example here and let's see how exactly numbers talk to you. Same thing, 18, 19, 20. I have the numbers. Oh, revenue has increased from 10 million to 11 million to 12 million. Wow, that's good. So business is doing good. Capacity utilization, okay, 90%, perfect. From 18 till 20, I have maintained it. That is good. That means I am getting the constant demand. Depreciation from 2 million to 2.5 to 3.3. Okay, depreciation is increasing. That gives me an indication that I'm spending on my capital expenditure. Yes, I am. I can see from 5 million, 7 million, again 5 million. So that means I have already spent something around 17 million. My goodness, 17 million. Sir, take a back seat. Rethink. You are chartered accountants. Numbers are there. Are these numbers talking to you? It is talking to me. It's talking to me. 17 million, sir. 17 million you spent. What is the revenue which you have added? 1 million every year. Is it justified?
Yeah,
is it justified?
Jay, I would like to share that Jatinder is saying that capacity utilization and revenue are not matching properly.
Is not matching properly. Sir, there can be a thing that machinery is on a dip. The machinery efficiency is going down. Please try to understand, a capacity does not mean that revenue has to increase. It can be that with every passing year, the machinery efficiency is going down, the volumes are going down, or the price is going down. Revenue is a conglomerate, is a mix of what? The price and the quantity. Might be quantity has increased because the capacity has gone high, but maybe market price has gone down for the product. Possible, right? But I love that part, Jitendra, when you said that, yes, it's not matching. This is where the chartered account comes to play. When it's not matching, you go deep into the numbers and see whether my numbers are fudged. If I say no, the quantity has increased when my capacity increased, but my price in the market has gone down, can be an indication, yes, the capacity utilization is increasing, revenue is dipping. Possible. So think about it. You are in the right direction as a chartered accountant. We have to think on those lines. It's possible that my numbers are first. It's possible that prices has declined year to year, right? Okay, moving on. On this screen, I talked about 17 million I have spent. On 17 million, the increase I'm getting year by year is 1 million. Two things. One, the capacity utilization will take time to come up. There are machineries, there are utilization which takes time, 3 years, 5 years. Second, you might be seeing a forecast that, okay, right now I'm not getting it, but I know within 3 years, I will take it from 10 million to 30 million. If you're confident about that, if you know your numbers, if you know your market, okay, I can live with it. But that is owners or investors' decision or your stakeholders' decision. As a chartered accountant, when I go to my bosses, when I go to my clients, when I go to my owners and stakeholders and say, look, I'm seeing this. Are you comfortable? Do you think that spending 17 million, I'm not even getting 10% out of this 1 million increase? And they say, no, don't worry. We have this forecast of 5 years. There is something which is coming up in 2022, 225, we'll be able to recover it. I'm good with it. But numbers are talking to me. That is what I'm trying to say. You have to talk to numbers. Once they start talking to you, you'll be able to pick up what exactly you want to see in those numbers. Otherwise, it will be difficult for you. Moving on, I've given you a couple of examples. Capital expenditures and depreciation expenses, acknowledging that capital expenditures are lumpy. You spend a lot, right? And depreciation expenses is worth examining. What we examined right now was the same example. I've given you some numbers. Please go through this slide. It says capital expenditure, if it is not corresponding with your revenue, you are in problem. You have to think about the numbers. You have to think where exactly you are heading to. My dear friends, do you think as a chartered accountant, numbers have started talking to you? Yes, it will start talking to you. Only thing is, I just gave you an idea. I'm just giving you a perception, how to think about it. There are multiple ways you can think about it. This is one example. Let me go to one more example. Revenue.
Yeah, Jay, before you
Yes,
before you go to the second example, let me read out the thoughts of some of our participants. Where Naman says depends on quantity sold. We have just one second. I hope I do not miss anything. Anandi. Himanshi says revenue may not increase as of now, but it may be possible in long term. Chetan says units sold is same, but sale prices is increasing. Harneet says marginal costing comes into play. Shehzad says it could be due to labor attrition, that learning curve is not taking effect. Chetan says sales unit increases but at a reducing price. Dharma says maybe because of huge wastages. Harneet says it's in a need of a new strategy. Shehzad says market share is rising, but maybe due to competition we had to cut price. Yeah. Then Manisha says ratio analysis will help. And Shehzad has another point. Companies investing in a futuristic tech, and hence the capex is large, and company is heading for disruption in an industry. I have tried to read most of it, but as continuously answers are coming, it's going up and down. So apologies for it. So most of them I've read.
So two things. I mean, I love the part when you are thinking about it. Okay. I mean, that is what the objective is. The objective is just don't pass on the numbers. If someone is saying something, you can always say that can be one reason, and then let your numbers say about it. If you go further down into it, you go to your ratio analysis, you go to your cost of goods sold, you go to your future tech. I mean, that's a good question. That's a very good thing when you said, maybe let me look at the capital expenditure, and maybe I'm actually investing in future. That is what I was talking about. 22 to 25 or 25 to 27, you might be seeing the increase. But good thing is, you're talking about it. That means that you're talking to the numbers. When you see the number, you're asking the same question to the number. Right now, I'm asking to you, you are asking to the number. Maybe because of technology, I'm just investing in the investments, and I will reap the benefits in 25. Possible. I'm not denying it, my friends. Only thing is, think of those lines. Numbers are talking to you. You're bringing different elements and making them talk to you. I have seen chartered accountants in their interviews where they are not given these numbers, but they are asked the questions on those lines, and there we have to say this can go either direction. I will bring capex together along with depreciation, along with revenue, to see where exactly we are heading to. As a chartered accountants, our job at least to highlight it. There may be prospects, there may be reasons for it, but at least we are doing that job, not just creating the balance sheets and financial statements for them, not creating the MIS only for them, but looking from a third eye and telling them where they are heading to. That is what is required. I love that part. And second thing which I loved about it, when Prabdeep said there are so many comments coming in. I love that. When comments start coming in, that means you are listening to me. If the comments do not come, I feel like, okay, you're not interested. But now it gives me a feeling that you're live. And if it was a live audience, I would have loved it. चलिए सर आगे चलते हैं, थोड़ा सा आगे बढ़ते हैं. Let's see what exactly I have other things to contribute to you. Revenue from 10 million to 25 million.
Yeah, I have a question for you. So you are coming from a technology side. So life has changed from a capex to opex. So give some indication on how the technology is moving from a capex to opex or vice versa. What is the business decisions coming up?
Tell sir, I will give 2 minutes out of the context for how exactly from CapEx we have moved to OpEx. Earlier, it was basically on-prem. Let me say you have to buy everything which you wanted. Say, for example, let me give you in layman's language. If you want to stay, you have to buy the home, right? You cannot take it on rent. You have to buy the home. If that is the law of the country, that is called CapEx. First you buy, then live. You cannot rent it out, correct? That can be the law of the country. Similar was the thing for softwares. If you want to deploy software, please first buy it, buy the house, and then start rendering that software in that house and then use it. That was called on-prem model, on-premise. On-premise means at the client location. So what was exactly it is if you remember IT, information technology paper which we were giving, there's something called hardware. So you have to buy the hardware. On that hardware, you'll deploy the software and then start using it. That was completely CapEx. Why CapEx? Because at chartered accountants, we used to say to the clients, look, you will be using this for next 7 years. So you cannot write it off and burden your P&L today. That was CapEx. Now where exactly we have moved? We have moved to the SaaS model. Now it's a rented property. You want to live? Don't buy it. You rent it out and live in it. You don't own the property. Same thing goes for the software. I need the software. I don't want to own it. Okay, go for the SaaS model. What is SaaS model? Software as a service. You want to stay or you want to use the software 6 months, only pay for 6 months. You want to use for 3 years, only pay for 3 years. And if you are paying for 3 years, you are chartered accountants, you are fresh chartered accountants, you know better than me that it will go and sit in my P&L. That is where the things have moved in technology. Now you go to your, when you will join your jobs and when you are talking to them, think whether they are on-prem or jargons. I mean, as a technology, I'm telling you, we just use jargons to scare you out. Okay. If you get into it, if you understand the layman language, you will understand it's just basically owning an apartment and renting an apartment. And we say in technology, what? On-prem or SaaS model. So on-prem is basically you are owning an apartment and SaaS model is nothing but a renting an apartment. So Rajesh, this is for you. This is what the difference between where exactly technology is heading.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I think you had given a very good tip for the interview. So that's what I want to bring it up. Because a lot of people are going to ask those questions on OPEX and CAPEX, and very good take from you. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Let's move on. I have some numbers flashing in, and I love those numbers when I see 10 million to 25 million, 15 million jump directly, and then to 50 million, 20. This business is really doing good. Rajiv, since you asked me a question, I have a privilege to ask you, don't you think this business is really doing good? I don't know what exactly the product they are selling, but they are on top of their business. 10 to 25 to 50 in 3 years.
Yeah, definitely pre-COVID and post-COVID era. So maybe an e-commerce company, something like that.
Maybe like e-commerce company. That is where I say, let's look further. Acquisitions. I have spent 300 millions in 2019 for fresh acquisitions, and this number is nothing but the revenue after the acquisition when I'm clubbing both the numbers. And similarly, 300 million again in 2020, and I got one more acquisitions, which we call brownfield projects. So what I've done is I've grown. But I've grown on brownfield projects. I've acquired businesses out. I've just clubbed their numbers and giving you 10 million to 25 to 50. So if I only look at revenue, everything looks good. Everything looks charming. But the moment I club the numbers, I start taking the numbers relating to what exactly is going in different financial statements. What are those? I say it camera, video, surveillance camera, and books. You relate to it, take all the feeds, combine together, and you will get your question. Is revenue increase in line with acquisition? And second question, which I know again will come to Prabdeep, what's the target year-on-year growth of acquired business? As you said, maybe 25, 26, 27. You may be break even. You have already planned for it. But I'm just asking numbers, seeing current numbers. 2020, I'm not comfortable. When I've spent 300 million, my growth is 25 million just by clubbing. Where exactly I'm heading to? It can be a story of Netflix, where after subscription goes high, or it can be YouTube, which was after acquisition, is giving the same revenue per month on what it was acquired 7 or 8 years back. So possible, but as a chartered accountant, I'm just highlighting that we have to think about it, we have to look into it, and if we are convinced that yes, these acquisitions are fine, these numbers are fine, and we'll reap the benefits out of it, then you are talking to the numbers, you are just not preparing the numbers. And this is what is expected from you as fresh chartered accountants. Talk to numbers. Again, the same thing, acquisitions and operating income. I've just given the context. I've given you the numbers to relate to it. Now please go through it and you think the statement is making sense in terms of what exactly we have seen. Acquisitions on statements of cash flows should be leading indicator of operating income growth. A history of acquisitions without corresponding increase in operating income may suggest that company's capital budgeting process is not functioning well, which is your question, which was my question, and you can always comment. Prabdeep, any questions on that? Do you see a
Jay, just hold on. There have been some comments I will share with you.
Sure.
Manisha is saying revenue increase in line with acquisition. Chetan is saying it is like balance sheet of banks in India after merger. Malika is saying new technologies are coming for interpreting numbers and data nowadays. How will it impact? How we should move towards with it? Anandi is asking, is saying in above case, I think entrepreneur use skimming policy and product in its growth stage. Isha is asking for the story. Jitendra is saying from 2018 to 19 rate is 2.5 times, but from 2019 to 20, it's 2 times. COVID impacted 0.5 times. Manisha is saying pay per use basis without having own infrastructure to deploy our applications. Harneet like the layman explanation. Kushbi is asking, is this the same concept as cold site, hot site, and warm site? I think I have, most of the, I think I have written a couple of more. Tushar is saying, look at ROCE before acquisition. Abhinav is saying, no revenue, no revenue, no increase. First point. Second, if long-term plan also be considered. Soumya is saying maybe company wants to expand or take over the competitors just like Facebook acquired WhatsApp for 16 billion. Yeah. So most of them.
I mean, I love that part where you're still participating and you know where exactly we are heading to. And that is what I want. I mean, that is what actually gives me pleasure when I see, yes, those numbers are talking to you. If it was already talking to you, I think my job is half done when it is already talking to you and you're able to interpret it. I love those comments. There was something called hot, cold, and warm. Sir, that is on technology side. We'll keep it aside. Right now, let me focus on numbers. Technology के लिए कभी और बात करेंगे, कभी और session में बात करेंगे. I can speak hours and hours on technology, but not right now. Otherwise, we'll losing time here. I move on, and now I will not give you examples. Reason being, you got the next of it, and now only I will relate. High level of cash. Continuously, if a company is maintaining high level of cash without deploying it, without using it, take a backseat and talk and think why. I will not talk about the company. You can read it on slide, but you know what happened, right? High level of cash sitting. I'm not denying that is wrong. If I'm an IT company, I can set on high level of cash. It's my right. If I have, it's my own cash. Only thing is, I'm saying take a precaution. Take a caution and relook into it, whether that is correct. If it is correct, everything is fine. You have done your job. You have ensured that yes, it's going in the right direction. There is no suspicion about it. That is what I'm saying. Think about when you see high level of cash sitting continuously year after year. Earning versus cash flow. Your earnings are increasing year on year. Cash flow, I'm not seeing that. Everything is getting parked in debtors. Everything is getting parked. You will receive it. My dear friends, earnings, is it actual or it's just the number to ensure that your price per share is maintained? Relook. You may have invoices. You can see, as an auditor, I've seen multiple invoices. When I was doing my audits and other stuff, I used to see invoices and I was satisfied. Invoice hai, customer का नाम है, address hai, numbers are there, perfectly fine. Go deep dive. If it is more than 3 years, deep dive. If it's more than a year, deep dive. Why every time it's going into receivables? Are the customer actually existing? Deep dive. I'm just giving you numbers just to say, please rethink. When you see earnings are increasing, cash flow is not increasing. Considering COVID right now, you can say, yes, if I'm getting an opportunity to sell, I will sell it off. I'll wait for the cash flows because market mein cash hai kahan? There's no cash in the market, right? Possible. I agree with you. Only thing is, take a seat, take a back seat, reanalyze the situation of your client, reanalyze the situation of your company, reanalyze the situation of your stakeholders, and think if everything is fine, you have done your job. you can have a good night's sleep saying all is in good hands. There is nothing fishy about it. So earning versus cash flow, again, one thing cash flow, second is P&L. I'm just relating to it when numbers are talking to you. Out of a sudden, if inventory increases and you're not seeing that kind of spur in sales, there are two reasons. One, yes, you might be thinking of sales in the future, but how you are so certain about the future? Think, talk to the management. Why you are increasing the inventory when I'm not seeing any spur in the sales, when I'm not seeing any increase in the sales? Why exactly you're sitting only increasing inventory can be only on the books? Maybe physical inventory is missing. What I'm saying to you, I'm just saying, just revalidate. Possible. I'm not saying everything is fishy. I'm just ensuring if some doubt comes to my mind, if some snapshots, some stories coming out, I will just want to verify that my story, which is going in my head, which is going in your heads too, that where exactly I'm going to. I just want to ensure that is not the story. If that is not the story, I'm okay with that. Inventory is correct inventory. I want to pile it up. I have no problems. But it should not go in the wrong direction. It should not go in the other direction just to inflate your balance sheet. That is your job to ensure, right? Moving on. Industry peers comparatives. Sir, when you're looking at industry peers, what do? You are doing really good. Industry peers at 12%, you are doing 24%. Good. First year, I'm okay. 24% possible. You are best in the industry. You can deliver it. Second year, 12%, you delivered 24%. Good. Maybe second year, you have a competitive edge. You have a good niche product. Third year, again, I may question it. I may want to see it. What exactly industry peers are not doing and you are doing? Why they are setting at 12%, 24%? Is the numbers correct? What not making them to come to your level and at least earn 18% if you are earning 24% will be my question. Why? Because why they are letting you? I mean, I will try to get the relevance out of it. Maybe you have the copyright. Maybe you have find something really good in terms of innovation and you have copyrighted it for next 10 years and that is why you're getting competitive edge. All good. You have satisfied your story. You have cleared your stories that no, the things which is going in my head as an auditor or as a chartered accountant is not there. They actually have a good trademark, which they have trademarked or copyrighted for next 10 years. None of the competitors can use it. I'm good with that. Only thing is when you are good, doing really good in terms of industry, then please rethink and just validate your story, what exactly is going on. You have multiple journals, you have multiple material available online, which you can subscribe to go to get industry numbers. Other income, sir, it's a small word, other income. छोटा सा नाम है, other income, but बड़े काम होते हैं. Small, but does big things. Okay. I have seen companies parking millions and millions saying other income. Why? Because other income does not need a breakup. Other income, you don't have to specify where exactly it is heading to, right? That is why other income is small but dangerous. If you see a sudden spur in the income, if you see a sudden increase in other income, can be logical. Maybe I've sold my entire factory in one of the regions and scrap and booked it as other income. I'm not worried. But only thing is, it should say that yes, actually the other income is there and the source of other income, we are okay with that. We don't take anything on the face value, on the statement. We are just ensuring that yes, the story is correct. The numbers which I'm seeing, my stories which is going in my head because I have two, right? One left side brain, one right side brain. Right always thinks everything is right. Left always thinks everything is wrong. I'm just trying to satisfy my brain. Trying to tell my left brain, boss, the stories which is going in your head is incorrect. I'm moving in the right direction. Business is moving in the right direction. Other income increase is justified. That is where I'm just satisfying my story. Frequent changes in policy, especially depreciation. I've seen policy changes a lot. There are reasons for it. I will not get into it. Why? I mean, I will let you figure it out. But I've seen companies going for a depreciation change policies very frequently. And they have their reasons to do it. Your question, why? How exactly it can help? If I increase the life, what will happen? My depreciation may go down. And if my depreciation goes down, I may get profitability. And I may need that profitability that time. Is this policy change just because to ensure profitability is there? Or actually justified by the life of the asset? It's your question which you have to ask, you have to satisfy. Sir, I'm not a technical person. Whatever the technical team says that the life earlier was 5 years, now it is 15 years, I take it on the face value. Sir, you are also a chartered accountant. You have studied subjects starting from law to indirect taxes, from technology to MAFA, treasuries, right? Financials. You are the right person who can understand any technical. I'm not saying you have to learn it all, but depending on your requirement, you may have to let at least a little deep dive to see whether that policy change is only for the profitability or is actually required based on the life of the asset or for any other reasons for the policy changes. I'm just giving you one example. That is where you see policy changes and you come back and say, Jay, I have to rethink where exactly the business is heading to. What exactly the story behind it. Moving on. Sir, I've done with all the different stories where exactly you can talk to the system based on notes of accounts, or you can say books, or on the camera or on the video or surveillance camera. I'll be using these words. I want you to stop using words which is really boring. When you say balance sheet, I normally see stakeholders don't understand, don't relate to it. They relate to it, but they don't show interest in it. So having new words helps me to connect to them. So if you start using those words, that will help you to connect to them. So
yeah, Jay,
sir.
Jay, before you move on, allow me to read some comments which have come in the last 10 minutes.
Okay.
Abhinav is saying new depreciation, now depreciation is not policy, it is accounting estimate. Malika is saying other income, verify cash flow. Ritika is saying to claim depreciation for longer time period. Dharma is saying depreciation change, also accounting estimate, Hiral, future prospects. Kanu is giving example of Big Flow, Big Basket and Gopher, who might have started stocking considering there may be lockdown. Then Preeti has said that earning increases the key person's compensation, leading to smoothing of earnings, delaying in capex, expense to project high profits and get high compensations. Shehzad said maybe for inventory they were using LIFO method. Yeah, so now, right. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Perfect. I'm loving the interaction. So you are active, you are listening to it, and you are giving your inputs. And I love that part when you are thinking. That is what as chartered accountants we are required to understand. We are required to see the numbers and come with our own story as to what exactly is going in my head and what is my story and how I can validate that story with my numbers. So I'm good. I am okay with that. There, I cannot see any questions there. I can only see comments and feedbacks. All are welcome. And now we move on. I told you first part where how exactly you need to talk to numbers, which is important, and you can learn it only through experience. Now I'm moving to the second part. I told you that numbers, when you see like this, when you're seeing it on your screen right now, is just numbers. It does not give me any interest. As a chartered accountant, might be giving you interest. You might be looking at numbers and saying, okay, sales are increasing. I can see a increase in sales from January to December. I can also see increase in EBITDA. I can see net earning increasing, or net earning has decreased from January to this stuff. Sir, as your investor, as your owner, as your stakeholder, this never excites me. Okay, these are numbers which we are used to because we are doing chartered accountancy, but we need to move on and be more intuitive, more visual oriented. I will show you one slide because picture speaks louder than words. Sir, if I say, look, we need to grow plants, we need to plant it because it gives oxygen. These are statements, right? You have heard it many times from TV to videos to internet and other stuff. This picture conveys a lot. And right now, seeing the COVID situation, you will relate to it. Most of you are attending the session from India. You can relate to when we say oxygen supply is less. Because pictures speak louder than words. This was a social message. I was trying to say it actually speaks louder than words. And similarly, for chartered accountants as well, pictures will speak larger than words. My dear friends, I've created a small dashboard. I will talk about what exactly I've done. But this, don't you think, based on other than those numbers, this was much better in terms of seeing it? You are able to relate further. If as a business, if I'm looking at it, I says, okay, I understand that my revenue is 1026K. I see, okay, May I have done a real good business. January was was the best business. Those numbers, when you are seeing in the earlier slide, which I was showing you, there you have to put in the efforts. You have to put in your eyes in there and identify January was really doing good. Here, it is on the flash. The moment you are seeing it, you know, okay, I mean, January was my good month. Again, May was good month. And then I'm doing business out of 6 locations, Australia, Canada, France, Germany, and others. And then I have customer type where platinum is not doing that great. Maybe it's a high value item. Gold and silver are almost in the right direction. Bikes, mountain, these are bikes. I mean, you are not seeing it, but since I have worked on the data, I have seen that bikes are really doing good. 100, 200. Mountain 100 is a type of bike. Mountain 200 is another type of bike. Road 650 is a bike. Oh, bike segment is really doing good. And I am seeing other models. And also I can see the region, whether when I'm working from Australia, I can work from Germany, France. Oh, everything is good. Don't you think it connects further better than the numbers which I have seen in financials? You have scribbled your papers, you have created amalgamations, you have done consolidations, but that was on paper. My dear friend, now you are being chartered accountants, you have to be a little intuitive. I was seeing the other day, or today itself, I was seeing someone was asking how exactly I can move to technology. Sir, you can move to technology. Technology right now is very cheap in terms of price, and you can invest your own time. You don't need a tutor. There are multiple sites available. Simplest of the site, YouTube, Google it out, you will find multiple things. Right now, say for example, for this dashboard, I have used Power BI. Power BI is one type of analytical tool through which I have just put in the data, and I have converted, instead of those Excels, I have converted to these graphs, which looks good, and you are able to pick it fast, saying, okay, this is what is happening in my business. There are multiple tools. I'm not here to promote Power BI. Okay, I am trying to say, please pick your tool. You are fresh chartered accountants, you are looking for jobs, but when you go and sit in an interview and say, I understand accounts, I understand numbers, I understand amalgamation, I understand consolidation, I understand MISs, but I also understand Power BI, I also understand Tableau, I also understand, I'm not saying you have to learn all of them, but you have to talk about your analytical tool where you have your edge. That edge is important if you want to grow further. That is why I'm saying, please pick your analytical tool and start looking at the data. It is not only for your cracking the interview, it will help you to form your story. Sir, घूम फिर के फिर story? Yes, sir. Story is required. Why story is required, I will tell you. Just see this slide. What I've done is, I have same data set, I've done a comparatives. Okay. If you see the comparatives, I'm saying my business this year is 1029. My last year business was 1301. You can see movements. Okay, January I have declined. January I've increased. February I've increased. March declined. April increased. So you can see the comparatives. And my focus is when I was creating this dashboard. That's why I say let number talk to you. And number becomes easy when you are going through visualization. It becomes easy to pick it up. And my dear friends, what I will say is look at the last two graphs where you can see my bike segment is doing really great. Right? Bike segment revenue, it says 100% means what? If you consider my total revenue, 100% means 518K is my top figure. My bikes are really doing good. I've seen in the earlier slides as well. Mountain 100, Mountain 200, Mountain 400, all these were bikes. This is really good. And again, last year also my bike segment was leading. If you see this is nothing but my current year. The other one, last period, is my last year. Bike segment was good, right? Perfectly fine. I'll show you one more slide. Think about it. I'm looking at France. If you see, I have highlighted France here, and look at these numbers. You can look at multiple numbers here. You can drive multiple things here. But when I'm looking at France, I'm looking at these things. I say, okay, drastically, it has come down. From first position, it has come down to third position, while it was first, which we have seen earlier, that bike was leading across in France as well. Why? My question was why? Can you get this visualization with your Excels? Yes, possible, you can. How much time you need? It will take considerable amount of time. But if you move to visualizations like this, will you save time? Yes, you will save time. Is it difficult to learn these visualizations or the tools or applications available in the market? No, my dear friends. There are multiple resources available online for free. I always say in my sessions, forget about this financial statement analysis, sir. We'll discuss more on it. My focus as a new chartered accountant to you is, are you spending 2 hours? You have given multiple hours tracking those exams. Are you giving 2 hours every day to yourself to take something new? If the answer is no, you are heading in wrong direction, sir and madams. Please My request, please, you are chartered accountants, you have enjoyed your time, you have enjoyed your success, you have celebrated your success, but 2 hours every day is important for you to learn something new.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Jay Dharma is asking to repeat the name of a software, and there are some comments that as these visuals are small, they are not able to clearly see on the thing. Yeah.
So what I will do is I will share the presentation with you so that you can see it clearly, because I cannot expand it further because it's on the full screen right now when I'm seeing on my screen. Will that do, Pradeep?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, perfect. Now, the software which I was talking about was Power BI. You can go to Power BI, you can go to Tableau, you can go to Oracle BI. They also have a product for Oracle, and you can also look at something called Click. Click is also a neat version which you can see. Click, where it does not start with C, it starts with Q-L-I-K, that is Click. So all these are Power BI, not Power BI, BI applications or visualization applications as I call it. So it gives you more visualization when you start looking around it. So for starters, I will say you can use Power BI, it's free. You can also use Click, or both are user friendly. If you have some amount, some funds, and you want to invest on highly sophisticated, you can invest on Tableau. It's a real good product if you have that kind of bandwidth to look into it, or Oracle BI. It will be a little expensive, but these are niche products.
Yeah, Jay, one thing I would like to share, I think this is the first question which has come from Srishti today. She was asking some questions on technology earlier. So she says that as per your experience, Jay, sir, how do we pick our first tool? This is one. From Harneet, she says we can even build or edit and code our own dashboard. Anandi is asking, is this MIS or EIS? And Shehzad is asking, are they freeware? Yeah, so then I will take the other later.
चलिए सर, पहले 4 को कवर करते हैं. पहला चीज, how to pick your tool. Sir, how do you pick your TV shows? I mean, say for example, there are multiple. You go to each friend, or forget about your TV shows because you are enjoying right now. How did you pick your teachers when you are studying for your CA final? 5 friends can give you 5 different names. How do you pick? You pick based on your comfort level, right? Sir, how to get my comfort in technology? Sir, when you will start, most of these softwares are free, at least free for trial versions. I mean, even if I talk about Tableau and other stuff, they will give you a trial version to download and try your hand, right? So what I recommend is, when you look at those names, you just talk to your friends and pick the one which is widely used. Like right now, why I'm using Power BI? Because Power BI is widely used. I can also pick Tableau, but the moment I pick Tableau and I said it's a sophisticated software, sir, you're picking a niche product. But are you reducing your coverage in terms of your clients and in terms of your companies? Yes, you are reducing it. But the moment you pick Power BI, are you increasing your coverage? Yes, you're increasing your coverage because Power BI or Click is widely used. So, okay, sir, I got it. One is sophistication. Do I want sophistication? I want to target the niche, or I want to target the wider coverage. Sir, you told me 2 things, Power BI and Click for wider coverage. What should I pick? Sir, again, think about it. Go to both the softwares, download the trial version, give your hands on, research something on YouTube. In a week's time, you will have your answer. Sir, how to learn it? Sir, YouTube is more than enough. This is for both my sirs and madams. It is more than enough material is available on YouTube, on internet, on Google. You just Google it out, you will get your answers. Only thing is you should know how to find them, how to understand them. Okay. So this is about you said Srishti. Second thing was, sir, आपको question बोलना पड़ेगा, इतना बोल रहा हूँ मैं भूल जा रहा हूँ questions क्या थे.
Yeah. There was a question, MIS or EIS. Is this MIS or EIS?
So this is basically MIS. What I am doing is basically MIS. MIS is more on reporting front and understanding where exactly business is heading to, and flagging, red flagging the areas where we have to concentrate and in advance. So that is MIS for you.
Right, and then we have Srishti has extension of the question and how do we get into technology roles as a fresher CA? And second thing, one more question I will give. Vikas is asking, is SQL worth learning for risk advisory?
सर दोनों को कंबाइन करते हैं, एंड कैसे कंबाइन करते हैं, आई विल गिव यू अ स्टोरी. You know I'm a chartered accountant. If you don't know now, you know I'm a chartered accountant. Okay, I did my chartered accountancy. Do you think I knew SQL or I knew technology when I completed my chartered accountancy? No, I did not. I joined a company called Infosys. Okay, I joined as a business analyst, and I was trying to give the business analyst. As a business analyst, our requirement is only to understand the business process, because we understand businesses. So understand the business process, put it on the paper in our language, and then there was something called a middleman who will translate them into a technical document, and then the technical will develop it. This was my role, right? I did it, and after 3 months, my project manager asked me, Ki, Jay, why don't you start looking into this translation rule? I started looking into translation rule, where I will first convert it into a business process document, and then I'll convert into a technical document. And obviously there was challenges, and obviously I was getting frustrated. I'm a chartered accountant. I understand numbers, what exactly I'm doing. All these were going in my head. I'm talking about initial when I was a fresh chartered accountant and started my journey. I went into my project manager's cabin after 6 months. Okay. And I said, what you are asking me to do? I'm a chartered accountant. You can ask me to do business process. You can ask me to analyze something, but why you are asking me to get into the technical part of it? Why you are asking me to open that SQL and at least write a select statement? I'm not comfortable. I want to quit. Sir, this is a true story. There's nothing bluff about it. This is a true story. I told him sitting in my, he said, no problem. Close the door. Let's have a chat. I was sitting with him. He told me what exactly I'm trying to do, and he said one statement, and that I carried today itself. And my dear friends, that project manager right now is sitting in US. I will not name him, but still I'm in touch with him. I always, whenever I talk to him over LinkedIn or somewhere, I do recognize that fact that you are the person who told me, and today actually I'm reaping the benefits of it. He told me, Jay, in this world, nothing goes for a waste. If you think right now the time you're devoting in learning this SQL, I can understand your pain because this is not your area. But if you think this will not come to your use and you want to move ahead, I'll be the first person to sign your paper and leave you. It's not a problem for me. But I actually believe that you can do much better in this. And that is why I'm asking you. I will request you to do it for 6 more months. And then also, if you're not satisfied, I will give you a route which you want to take. Whether I will move it to you again, business function, where you want to do business analyst, or I will give you a release and you can look for your own options. Sir, after 6 months, I was a changed man. Today, I do SQL, I do technical designs. I also do the entire blueprint of how exactly to be laid out in terms of any company. Sir, what is the takeaway? Takeaway is, if you want to learn SQL, if it's coming from your heart, go ahead and do it. You will learn it. It's not that hard. If I say, you will say, sir, aap story de rahe ho. Sir, SQL talks to me. Nowadays, when I write a statement, it is talking to me. It says, Jay, you are making a mistake here. You have to correct your code. How does it happen? It's only about your passion. It should come from inside that I can do it. So you can learn SQL if you want. Technology, Srishti, if you want to learn, you have to have the neck of it. It's like maths. Sir, बचपन में मैथ्स में बहुत डर लगता था because those are not numbers. But if you understand why exactly maths was good, why exactly maths we should do, you loved it and you used to crack higher numbers on that. Same thing is for technology. If you love it, if you have a fear, पहली बात तो डर निकाल दीजिए. I have seen chartered accountants having that fear on technology side. Okay. Reason being, I will tell you, and this is my story as well. When I gave my technology paper, it was more theoretical. I used to give, just rectify it, go there, put it there and get pass marks. Sir, that was wrong. If we get a deep dive, if we don't have that fear of technology, I'm telling you, Srishti, you can do it. But have that confidence. I want to learn technology. And this is for everyone. Every chartered accountant sitting there. Sir, technology is your game going forward. You cannot ignore it. If you think Excel will help you, if you think only your studies will help you, my dear friends, you're on the wrong side. Better to switch the side at the earliest and start taking your time of 2 hours a day for your learning technology. So this is for this. Any other questions or should we move ahead?
Yeah. Jay, there's a question just now. It came from Srishti that do you mean product management roles?
Product management roles. Yes, I mean you can start off. Why? Because product management is not 100% technical role where you are getting involved with product. How exactly the product is structured, how exactly product is delivered. That is called more of a management side of a role. But once you go there, you are very near to where technology should be. And when you are near to that, You feel the warmth of it. If it's like fire, you are near to it, you feel the warmth and you enjoy it. That's fine. Get down into fire and start doing the technology part of it. But project management can be the right start for you, Shristi. If you want to do it, it will keep you in closer, and you can also have a comfort level with your own area of chartered accountancy and numbers. So it's a good start. No doubt about it.
Yeah, so Jay, there are 3-4 more comments I would like to ask. Also, I would like to tell the participants that, we will review this, and whichever has been left out in between, we will answer it. So, Srishti had commented about RPA, robotics, both. Dharma was asking about Google Analytics, and Anandi says technology is a backbone of the industry, so we have to be friendly with it. Then Avinash says if you can elaborate on data analytics parts in line with the CA culture going forward, especially when we see job postings for Python, SQL, etc. And if you can also speak about making career in SAP. This was asked by Chetan. Yeah.
Perfect. Sir, talking about SQLs or Pythons and other stuffs, yes, as chartered account, we need to learn it. Okay. Only thing is, now you're a chartered account, right? You have cracked your exams. Sir, we have not seen Python. No problem. Everything has a start. Why not today? Why not start your journey of Python today? Or for that matter, you talked about RPA. Why not RPA journey today? You can do it. RPA, I will tell you the tools. UiPath, you go to automation anywhere, you will learn it, right? Only thing is you have to start somewhere. Yes, in ICAI we should start, and it's a good thought process. Maybe we are working on those lines. Maybe right now we are thinking on those lines. Yes, we have to include them. But right now, since you are a fresh chartered accountant, you want to stand there, or you want to move on, say, now let my journey start for Python or RPA and start evolving around it. My take, sir, go ahead, start your journey. I started somewhere. I also did the curriculum which did not have all these stuffs, but today I am dealing with technology and I'm very comfortable with it. I'm telling you, it will give you an edge. You will love about it. Only thing is, please start your journey. Don't stand on the side and say it was not part of the curriculum. Sir, something was part of the curriculum. Now please go ahead and let's start our journey with RPA or Python and SQLs. Will be required. It's easy. It's easy. If you want to take my words, it's easy. It will trouble you for initial 6 months. It troubled me. Good thing was I had a mentor who gave me a word of wisdom, and it helped me to transform. You also need a mentor. Find your mentor. But have a mentor. That is important. I always believe you should always have a mentor whom you can go back. Any time in our lives, we need that mentor. There have been many mentors for me. Yes, sir, go ahead.
When you said about mentor, just now a question has come from Shrestha. She says, I have created few accounting softwares through MS Excel. I'm very much interested to technology business integration, but there are not much opportunity in the field, and in those that are, every company needs experienced person. So what should I do?
Okay. अब ये मेरे को बताइए, tell me something. Say for example, we were talking about one story earlier that you have created something on Excel as a tool which can do accounting and other stuff. Do you think Excel has all the controls which is required? It's not there. I mean, my dear friends, Excel is very good. I mean, till today also I use Excel for some analytics which is required for few of the clients. But does it have all the controls which is required in terms of ERP? No, it's not there. Frankly speaking, it's not there. If you think you have done that good work, you can always connect me offline and show me your product, and we can get you a market if that is there. But trust me, I have seen Excels, I have seen accounting softwares on Excel, but there are lacunas to it. Okay, that is why when you are saying you are going with Excel as a software and you are pitching Excel as a software for accounting and other stuff, because of lacunas, it is not flying. You have to have a confident product. There are products available. It's not like you have to develop any product from the scratch. You are a chartered accountant. You just need to identify the product which you want to pitch in and which you want to take it forward. So my thing for you is, maybe you are looking at a product which has lacunas and that is why it is not flying. It's not because you are a fresher. Forget about it. That's not the case. Yes, it impacts, but it is not the case that no one will fly. If this is the case, no one will be success. Try to understand, everyone has started somewhere, right? Talk about anyone. Mark Zuckerberg started somewhere, right? He was a fresher, but then also he got his market. You will get your market. But look at your product, whether product is superior or has lacunas. If you're confident, contact me offline. We'll look into it. Don't worry. If it has some meat into it, we'll look into that part. So that is for me.
Yeah, I would like to pass a message to all the participants. Questions are not stopping. So many technology names are coming. So what I would like to request all, their mainly question is revolving around how do we progress in this career. So what we will try to do is that we will compile all the information and see if 15-20 minute session we can adjust it in between so that your issues get resolved, so that you can move forward. Otherwise we'll not complete. Technology will keep on continuing. Yeah.
Chalo sir, ये बात भी सही है. Let's focus on what we have. We were talking about MIS, right? Let's come from technology here. We'll have one more sessions for you for technology. Don't worry. All of you will be technology. We will be using technology someday. Now, we have done two parts, and frankly speaking, I can guarantee you most of you have forgot what we have told you till so now, because you were so much into technology. अभी तक आप भूल चुके हो कि हमने क्या बताया. But let me take the advantage and let me move on. The reason was why the bikes has gone on a decline and components was increasing or have taken the first seat was custom duty. The custom duty in Europe increased for the bikes. And if that happens, obviously, the manufactured bikes will get more advantage than the imported versions. And that is why you see a dip in Europe, not even in the region. If you go by region, when I was analyzing the data, that was just only in Europe. And when it was in Europe, we dig down and we found custom duty was the culprit behind it. And that is why the reason was that the bike sale has gone down in Europe. Can't I say the numbers were speaking to me? Yes, it was. If you see the raw data, it was not speaking to me. But the moment I created analytical tools on top of it, I created some analysis on top of it, and I drilled down further. I could have stopped when I saw the numbers. Yeah, every year I'm doing good. First year 1 million, second year 1.3, third year 1.6. I'm good. No, sir, you are good right now, but there is some bacteria, some virus sitting somewhere inside your business. If you try to identify it today, it will help your future. That is what in this case we did. Europe, yes, custom duty increased. What can be the solution? If this is the story that custom duty was the reason, can be the solution? I will send you the bike in multiple components in a box. So it will not be a bike. It will be a boxed, packaged components of all the bikes, which you can assemble in Europe and sell it off to bring my sales. Can be a solution. Was it a solution? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm talking based on numbers and I'm giving you a story. Who will decide? Operations. Let operations decide. You have done your job. You have told them where exactly the problem is. You told them that this needs solution, and you are also giving them the option or alternative as a chartered accountant. Let them decide. They are the right people. They are running the operations for quite long, and they will tell you what exactly needs to be done. This is one part. Second, you can ask me, sir, why only bikes? If you see overall, if you have seen the numbers, last year in Europe, I did a business of 129K. My total sales has gone to 50K. You did not talk about it. Why only bikes? Sir, I always follow 80-20 rule. My 80% of the problems can be solved if I focus on 20% which can resolve my 80% of the populations or problems. I follow 80-20 rule. I think bike was my largest segment across globe. And if it is struggling, if I can address that in Europe, my problem will be solved. Instead of 50K, I'll be sitting at least on 100K. 29K, I can sort it out. It's your decision because bike was largest for me. I was looking at 80-20 and I was only focusing on bikes. You can go into first nitty-gritties and look into it. But please, my dear friends, I'm telling you as a chartered accountant, you cannot focus on 10 out of 10 problems. As a technology guy, you cannot solve 10 out of 10 issues. Idea is solve 80%, which can solve 80% of the issues. Solve that 20% which will solve 80% of the issues, and that your customer will be happy, your business will be happy, your stakeholders will be happy. Moving on. Sir, story. Last 2 hours is almost 2 hours, I guess. Yes, 2 hours. Everything is story. Is it always about story? क्या हमें story बनानी ही पड़ेगी? Sir, story is what? Think. What is story? Story is just a medium. Medium to create the impact. Create that you can retain it. That is the story. If you have any other medium other than story to create that impact, to create that retention capacity, you can go ahead. Story is one of them. But what can be other ways? Sir, I don't know. But I have seen something which I'll show you now, which is a complex thing. If it's something complex, you don't have a story, but if you break it into multiple simplified forms, that can also help. Every time I may not have story. Every time I cannot build story. What I can do, then have a complex thing. If it's actually complex, break it into simpler parts, not the story, but simpler parts. How, sir? Sir, take an example. I always believe example helps to clarify things. Story बोलूंगा नहीं समझ में आएगी, example connect करता है. ठीक है? DuPont analysis, sir, किया है. माफा में DuPont analysis किया है. Theoretically बहुत समझा है. What is this? It's an analysis, a technical analysis done, and it's basically a formula which is there. But can I break it into simpler parts? Yes, you can break it. Will it convey a story or will it convey a message? Yes, it will convey a message. Sir, example ले सकते हैं, एकदम example लेंगे. Let's see the example. This is the formula. Let's put the formula first. Sir, ये formula, if you are just class 5, class 6 I'm talking about. Net income divided by equity. नीचे वाला formula, net income divided by revenue into revenue by equity. Revenue will get deducted. Net income by equity, ये भी ठीक है. Similarly, return on equity, net income by revenue, revenue by assets, assets to equity, assets cut off, revenue cut off. Formula is same. All the three formulas are same. Only thing is I've broken down to 3 parts. Any concerns? Any questions? Perfect. Assuming everything is fine, no questions there. सब मेरे से agree करते हैं. Class 5, 6 में हमने ये सीखा है. I am just taking the last formula, last one, 3 parts. Okay. This is the formula. What is net income by revenue? Net income by revenue. Revenue का कितना portion? What is the portion of revenue which is income? Is nothing but profit margin. Sir, नया चीज नहीं बता रहा हूँ. MAFA you have cracked, or financial management you have cracked because you know this. What is the percentage of revenue which is my income? It's called profit margin. How much assets is required to get that revenue is called asset turnover. कितनी बार asset को roll करना पड़ता है so that I can get my revenue, that is called asset turnover. And asset by equity, what is the proportion of equity which I am financing for my assets? Rest is obviously debt. That is called financial leverage, right? Sir, ये तो पढ़ा है DuPont में, आप नया कुछ नहीं बता रहे. नहीं बता रहा सर, अभी बताऊंगा. What is profit margin? Sorry, what is asset turnover? Asset efficiency? How many times the cycle goes? If I am able to rotate 12 times and get the revenue, it's asset efficiency, right? 12. अगर 2 बार कर पा रहा हूं, तो it's lower side. So the moment the asset turnover is high, if asset turnover of a company is 2 and second is 12 is doing good because he's able to roll 12 times rather than 2 times, right? So asset efficiency, asset turnover is जितना बढ़ेगा, जितना increase होगा, that is good for the company. Dependency of company, financial leverage, कितना proportion मेरा asset का मैं finance करता हूँ, others is dependent. The rest is called dependency, that's called leverage. Profit margin आपको मालूम है, नहीं बोलूंगा. Sir, I'm going to class 11 just to remember this. कि asset is equal to liabilities plus equity. Asset is equal to liabilities plus equity. If you see this, asset efficiency is assets. Liability is basically my dependency on the company outside. Equity is profit margins. If capital is 0, equity becomes your profits. So asset is equal to liabilities plus equity. Do point को मैं यहाँ लेके आ रहा हूँ, but मैं एक example लेता हूँ. Let's take an example. This is my net income and this is my equity. 2019-20, 2 companies. On the left side, company A. On the right side, company B. If you want, have your pen and paper ready or at least your mobile ready with the calculator, you will need to do some numbers. I will show it everything on the screen, but you may need it. Sir, what is the return on equity? Net income by equity, return on equity, 1 million divided by 2 million, 50%. So this company A, return on equity has increased from 50% to 60%. Company B, return has increased from 42% to 60%. Wow. So company B is actually doing good. From 42%, the income in return on equity, if you are an owner, you should be happy. From 42%, your increase is 60%. 18% increase you got. Here only 10%. Which company is good? Which company is good? This company is good. Any questions so far? I'm assuming nothing is boiling in your head. Everything is fine. Numbers looks good. Company B is really doing good. यहाँ तक मैं समझ के चल रहा हूँ. Physical होता तो मजा आता because I could have read what exactly is going in your head. Right now I'm not able to do it, so I'm going by the hypothesis. Everything is correct. Sir, break करते हैं. जो अभी सीखा उस पे break करेंगे. I give you 2 more numbers, revenue and assets. Okay. So net income equity was already there. I have given you 2 more numbers, revenue and assets. If you want to take a picture, take a picture. If you want to scribble on your paper, scribble on the paper. What I will do is, I will again use the same formula. This was the formula, sir. This was the formula. And we'll plot the numbers here. You have the figures here at the top. You have numbers here formula at the bottom, and I will just plot the numbers. I will just plot the numbers to see kahan ja raha hai numbers. Okay. For example, company A 2019, company 1 2019. Formula is this. Have a look. I have plotted the figures at the top for you just to relate. I'm not fudging the numbers. I'm not creating a magic. I'm not giving you a false picture. I'm giving you the picture which is available, what I showed you earlier. 1 minute का 30 seconds का time देता हूँ. Just have a look. See, all the numbers are fine. My maths is good till now. So कभी भी होता है. When I get into technology, obviously your maths goes for a toss, right? You're not good with numbers. So I just ensured my numbers are good, so you can verify it. My numbers are still good. Company A 2019. Moving on. Next में चलते हैं 2020. These were the numbers and this is the numbers I have plotted. सर सिर्फ plot कर रहा हूँ. Formula मैंने आपको पहले दिया था. I'm just plotting the numbers here. 120, 10, 10, 480, 480, 200. I'm getting my numbers. 12, 2.08, 2.4. 30 seconds. Just अगर आपको सिंक इन करना हो, क्योंकि मेरे पास पहले भी कंप्लेंट्स आती है. प्रदीप साहब मेरे को हमेशा बोलते हैं, जय, you go too fast and that is why we are not able to do the calculations. So I'm just giving 30 seconds. नहीं तो वो फिर मेरे को बोलेंगे, जय, you went too fast.
Yeah, Jay, I would like to be, as the participants do calculation, I just want to pass a message to you and you can pick it up. We have one question from Tushar who was asking, just one moment, it is because he reminded me that my question is left. On the visuals, where he is asking, can visuals be misleading when we look at a broader picture as for bike sales? Suppose in this case, the overall bike sales may have increased, although decreased in France. Yeah, this is what he was asking.
Good, sir. पार्क करेंगे थोड़ा देर सर, क्योंकि बीच में है एक चीज के. विल कंक्लूड दिस एंड विल कम टू दैट क्वेश्चन फॉर श्योर. पार्क कर रहा हूं जस्ट बिकॉज विल नॉट लूज द फ्लो, बट नोटेड, क्वेश्चन इज नोटेड सर. डोंट वरी, सिंस आपने रिमाइंड करा, इसको तो जरूर कवर करेंगे. विजुअल्स कैन बी मिसलीडिंग और नॉट. ओके, आई मूव ऑन. कंपनी टू 2019, सेम थिंग. आई एम जस्ट प्लॉटिंग द नंबर्स. By now, I am assuming if you have taken in the picture, you already plotted, you got your numbers. So this time I am only giving 15 seconds. थोड़ा टाइम रिड्यूस करते हैं, नहीं तो रैप अप नहीं कर पाएंगे. I got my numbers here again. Same logic, same formulas, just plot the numbers, get your numbers. Last one, company to 2020, again the numbers. 15 seconds. Tell you, sir. Now come to the conclusion. Sir, this was a story. When we started this story, we said company 2 is really doing good because it gave me 18% return. What I did, I just broke into 3 parts and I'm plotting those parts. Profit margin, 2019 to 2012, 10% to 12%, 2% increase. Company B is only 12% to 12%. The same revenue, same everything. No increase. Sir, if you have populated, check your numbers. This is the same number. 2019, 12%, 2020, 12%. What do you think, which is a good company? Now I say I give 1 point to company a profit margin. Awesome. They are showing the growth. They are stagnant. Possible they will go for future growth. I'm talking about the numbers which I'm seeing right now on my sheet. Asset turnover 2 to 2.08. Jitna zyada increase hoga, that is good for the company. I'm able to roll out multiple times the revenue. 2 to 12. I give you an indication. 2 to 2.08. Marginally, they have improved on asset turnover as well. They are able to roll out assets multiple times to generate that turnover. They are stagnant, 2 to 2. Again, I will give you on a marginal amount of 0.08. The second point, the last one, financial leverage. What is this? 2.5 say 2.4 means my dependency in the market has gone down from 2.5 dependency. My dependency has gone down to 2.4. Here, from 1.75, my dependency in the market has gone to 2.5. That is, my revenue growth of 42 to 60% is because of debt I have taken from the market. If I'm not sure how exactly I'm moving, I'll again give them the point because they are working on their own amounts and they are less exposed to the market. I give the third point. Sir, story changed. They are really doing good. Only thing is they will take some time to arrive at the same numbers or the same growth which company B is doing. What I have done, I've just broken down multiple components. So what I'm saying is just go further. Don't stop at one level. You have to analyze from multiple angles as a chartered accountant and come up and say to the business where exactly we are heading to. Now, after breaking it down, the numbers are same. I say company A is really good. In the long run, it can increase multiple times as compared to company B if they go at the same rate. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm just talking about numbers. I'm just taking my derivations from numbers. You have to break it. Is there a story? Sir, no story. I've not given you a story. I've told you, break a complex thing and divide into smaller parts and chunks and see whether there is a story. The facts are enough. Here, I'm just giving you facts and you're convinced that yes, company A is doing good. There may be something you have to say around it. I will hear some comments from Prabdeep as to where exactly we are moving to. But every time it's not about story. Before I move forward and conclude, Prabdeep, any questions on this if you have on your screen?
Yeah, there are many points. Many have said that company A is good. Lot of comments. And Chetan has reminded me that careers in SAP he had asked earlier, which is also remaining. I know there are many technology questions and remaining. Even I know that in first 2030 also there are some remaining. We will try to take them up. So just, yeah.
Okay. Don't worry, sir. SAP and visualization misleading I will cover. Don't worry. Let me conclude. And before conclude, I will cover the questions and then I will conclude my slide. I only have, if I'm not wrong, I only have one more slide to go for. This is an indication, Rajiv. Please be prepared. My last slide is coming in and I will talk about 2 questions first. Sir, SAP, is there a career in SAP? Yes, sir. 3 leading products in the market: SAP, Oracle, Microsoft Dynamics. 3 products: SAP, Oracle, Microsoft Dynamics. You have career in all of them. If you are passionate about it, please go ahead. Sir, सबसे बढ़िया कौन सा है? Sir, all are equal. All depends on the opportunity you get in your lifetime. My dear friend, I have the same question when I was starting my career. Should I go for SAP, Oracle or Dynamics? And I have the same question, which is the best? Now, after 15 years of experience, I'm telling you, all 3 are good. It's only about the opportunity. If you want to pursue your career in SAP, please go ahead. Your market is Europe. SAP is more in demand in Europe. So you can look at Europe market. If you love Germany, France, please focus on SAP. If you love US market, focus on Oracle. Depends on आपका heart कहाँ जाना चाहता है. If you want to go to Oracle, focus on US. If you want to get into US market. If you are focused Europe, focus on SAP. You will get into Europe market. That's your call. SAP is good. Now, last question: visualization. Can visualization be misleading? Yes, sir. Visualization can be misleading. We never said visualization will give you correct picture. Visualization just gives you a reason to investigate. It gives you reason to deep dive and see whether the story is correct, whether there is something which we have to be worried about. There are chances that bikes market is actually doing good. Visualization not giving me a correct picture. So I'm not saying I will go by the visualization. I'm just taking a clue from the visualization to decide whether it is going in the right direction or should I drop it off or should I amend my visualizations. In the sense, should I amend my graphs? Should I introduce more logics to it so that it can be in future correct? So that is what about visualization can be misleading. You have to look into it. 2 things to remember. Change your vision, change your visualization. If you come to know, yes, it's going in the incorrect direction, what are the parameters to be included so that it gives you the correct picture? Second, it's just an indication. It's not the final fact. Find your fact. Sir, with this, let me go to the last slide and we'll conclude. Summary and way forward. जो भी मैंने 1 घंटे 45 minutes बोला है, this is the conclusion, this is summary. All the components of financial statement, all components, camera, video, surveillance camera, books, take anyone, are interconnected like nervous system. आपके brain से लेकर नीचे चोटी तक, नीचे चोटी मतलब पैर की एडी, your whatever you say, is connected through what? Through nervous system. Similarly, all these are connected like nervous system. A little focus and they can talk to you. A little focus. Start reading different financial statements. What should you do? Start reading financial statements. It's available. Download from the list for the listed companies. Start reading it. I'm not saying from the first day you will get your answers, but at least you have started your journey of talking to numbers. That's my first submission. Second, analytical tools can help. Create visuals which can help you connect with your audience. Identify your problems. What you need to do? First, identify your analytical tool. We discussed about how to find it, but please identify your analytical tool and start your journey today of learning. This is my second summation, and my final summation to you. Story is not always important. Impact and retention is. Create that impact, create that retention. Be it story, be it fact. But please do it. My dear friends, all chartered accountants are sellers. You are selling your skill set to your company, and you'll be standing in that line in your interview, selling your skill set, saying, I can be a better person. I'm not saying you're literally selling, you're not selling your morale. You're selling your skill set. Every chartered accountant is a seller. Please start working on it. Start creating that impact and retention so that interviewer के दिमाग में रहे, यार वो बंदा था. I want to have that guy. Thank you very much. I'm done here. Back to Rajiv.
Thank you, Jay. Amazing one. So maybe you have to bring down your slides. Thank you very much. I'll connect on the slides. Too many takeaway from me also, Jay. So as you were saying, how to select a SAP, Oracle, and Microsoft Dynamics. I think it's as looking for a bride or a groom for the marriage. So it may go on whichever side, you never know. So, and a lot of questions which have come up, whether numbers are talking right sense or not. So I'm going to bring up something, story behind the scene. So that's, we have looked at story on numbers, what they're talking, but there are a lot of things which are behind the scene. I pick up some of the points.
Rajiv, before you start, I have a reminder from Shehzad. He's asking about Telegram. So Shehzad, we will discuss upon that, and we will update you later. There were many questions regarding why financial bridge of company B is good. Some are asking how to connect with Jay. So all those things we will answer, because these questions which you have given, if they have not been answered, will be given to the faculty, and those will be answered. As we are just left with 40 minutes for Rajiv's session, which is very critical. So let us move forward, and we will come back to the other things and help you resolve that. Yeah, Rajiv.
So there is a famous guy, just follow on the LinkedIn, you will immediately connect with him. And as we are talking, I think a lot of LinkedIn connects came to me also, so it's good. It's really a knowledge platform, and I think Jay writes a lot of articles, I write a lot of articles which can connect with a lot of information which you are looking at. Before we start, I have a question from Shubham, which was there. If one lacks knowledge on stock market, does it impact selection in interview? How essential it is to read economics or financial newspaper? It depends on what you want to achieve. So as you are looking at example on a technology side, then this may not be a critical point for you. But yes, if you are getting an interview for a bank where you are getting into an investment banking story, then definitely it's going to impact. So what's your line of thought? What is your line of action which you are taking up? It definitely depends. But I will say, being a financial expert, being qualified from the supreme authority on a financial side, it's always good to connect with a finance also. Yes, and from a technology side, it's always good. Either you adopt it, as Jay was telling. If you can't adopt it, then collaborate it. So I collaborate with Jay on all the technology related assignments. So it's always good to see how you have your strengths. You cannot achieve 100%, but can you create a team which achieves 100%? Yes, that's a collaboration you need to look at within the organization and in the professional practice also. So that's a key. Behind the scene, let's look at some of the aspects which Jay has picked up. Satyam's side, we are not naming, shaming or the company side, but we are looking at how and what can be learned from these aspects. Enron, $74 billion issue. What was that? It was more an accounting, you can say, architecture which was created, MTM, mark to market value. So that's a impact they have looked at, and there are a lot of things which went right or wrong, I will say, from an Enron perspective. AIG, again $3.9 billion. Lehman Brothers, $50 billion. Satyam, $1.5 billion. Toshiba, $1.2 billion. Wells Fargo, 2 million fake accounts. Are we saying these organizations which you're talking about are large organizations, they don't have architectural people to see what's going wrong? They do have. Do we don't know what kind of a problems we have? We do know. But sometimes we focus on a smaller issues than the larger issues. That's where it goes wrong. And it can go wrong in any direction. This is just a typical example we're talking about. I'll just touch across a Wells Fargo case, which is a typical case where it's a US-based community banking. The objective of the banking started with they want every relationship manager, every sales manager to sell as many accounts to the customers as much as possible. So they gave a target to each salesman that you are going to have 8 relationships for each account. When this target was given, it was so stiff that the salespeople or the relationship manager were not able to get their proper incentive. That means a basic salary also. And hence they encountered into the fraudulent activity of faking the signatures. In this process, 5,000 plus employees were being terminated. Now 5,000 plus employees is not a small joke. 5,000 plus employees were terminated, and when they terminated, they said we have a staff integrity issues. Now it's a point to be pondered. Will 5,000 employees in together can get into integrity issue, or there is some structural issues? So this is again behind the scenes story which we are talking about. So there are a lot of things which may go wrong, and the organizations which you are seeing on the screen are not the small organizations, they are large organizations. Now what we can do for this? It's a very interesting tool. I will just give you a small perspective. I'm not sure if you have seen this before or you're going to encounter it very soon, but this is a tool you can use at your personal life also. On the left side, you can see there is something called likelihood. That means what is the likelihood of that event or activity happening? And the below is a consequence. What is the consequence if this thing happens? I'll give a very simple example. You encountered and you said you are going to attend the session today, which is telling you how to get into an interview, what kind of a basic learnings you can get into. And I'll say, what is the likelihood that you may not be able to attend the session? You will say it's a possible because I may not be able to get the internet connection right, or I may not be able to be ready for this session at the time, or I have some other engagement which is going to come up. So let me use a framework here. You say the possible. It's a possible. That means I'm using a score of 3 that you may not be able to attend the session. What is the consequence? Not much. Consequence is you are not able to see the live session, but after 48 hours, you will be able to see that session live. So I will say my consequence is minor. So my risk score or my score of going thing wrong is 6 in this case. Why? How we are arriving at the score? We are just doing a simple multiplication of the y-axis and x-axis. Now let me change the situation. Now imagine this is the time where you had an interview for 3 hours and this is a dream interview. What is the possibility you will miss the session now? I think you will say possible is low because there is a possibility my internet connection does not work. However, I will cancel all my plans. So now in this case, your possibility is moving down from 3 to 2, which is unlikely. But there is still a possibility that your internet connection does not work. Now, what is the consequence? Consequence is catastrophic. That means you will miss your dream job. You will not be able to get to the selection process itself. So here, the score is coming as 10. That means you are in a zone where you need to work something. What you can work? You can work on multiple folds. You can work by ensuring your parents' phones are also available. Your home network is also available. You will ensure you have 3 laptops with you. Your phone is also ready with a database so that if these things happen, you can crack it. Now, this is where we say, when we know for any event which is happening in an organization is multiplied or analyzed with a consequence, you know what are the high risk areas. Where I have most certain likelihood and most certain consequence, which is where I need to give a forced attention to those parts. Now, where the organization go wrong, or we have seen from audit perspective also, where the organizations are not able to achieve it, where they don't prioritize the stuff. We have 500 risk items in the organization, which is perfectly fine. But if I'm prioritizing the smaller risk item, which does not have so much of consequence, I may not be able to give justice to what I'm supposed to. So that is where the prioritization becomes very important, and we need to look at how we can prioritize it. So as Jay also rightly said, if we have 10 problems, how are we resolving those 10 problems? Or are we resolving the first 2 problems or 3 problems which are required today? I may live with 5 problems which are there. That's fine, because those are not a bigger issue. They are not going to impact me major. They are not going to impact heavily on the doability or action of the organization. But if something is regulatory, something is high profitability or a high loss impact, then you are going to prioritize that. Look at this model for your personal life also, for any kind of organization you work in. look at your prioritization. I've seen a lot of people have a habit of writing a diary note in the morning on to-do action plans. And by end of the day, you will find only the action plans which are easy to do are completed, and the critical tasks are left for the day two. So eat the frog as it comes on the table rather than waiting for the frog to jump on. So this is one slide which I will say, remember it, grab it. We are going to share the presentation. I'm sure you will have a quite a good look on this and see what are the stories behind which are talking about. Now, when we talk about the stories, we talk about the two sequence events, which is a board meeting we are talking about. For a board meeting, an event which is high risky may be very different than in a team meeting. You may discuss a smaller issues which are important in the team meeting, but for the board meeting to be addressed or discussed, you need to look at what is important for the board meeting side. So the priority list can be very different for the board meeting. The priority list can be very different for the team meeting. Example, if you're a part of an audit, which is coming out from this slide. So we always say from a risk-based side, look at what is unacceptable. That means immediate action, issue, action required to manage the risk, supplement. If you have resources, spend it. Acceptable, no need to do any action plan right now. So example, in your case, what you're talking about is employability. So wherever you're looking at a job is the far most important thing. But don't ignore to add up to the skill set. So you have to look at some time every day to add up to your skill set. I do it till today also. Jed does it every day. Adding up a skill set or adding up a knowledge does not mean that you have to read, you have to learn. You have to write something. You have to put something in articulative mode. If you love doing an audit, can you write an article tomorrow how to do an audit for an X organization or a Y organization, or in the small portion? I can bet you, if you start writing an article of a A4 page size also, you need to do research. You need to look at various documents to make sure that you are in a right order. So do improve yourself. Your journey and your competition is with yourself, not with anyone else now. You are a chartered accountant. So you're proved to the world. Now the competition is with yourself, how you improve yourself from yesterday to today, what you were and what you are today. That's a journey which has to be looked at. Now let's look at some more interesting stories, short stories which will come in. The parking cost is $100 for 30 days, which is coming as approximately $3,000. And what he paid as an interest is 1% of $5,000, which is $50. So in this whole transaction, it doesn't make sense, but what is the story behind the scene? Gives a lot of perspective, a lot of sense to why this guy has done this kind of a transaction or a deal. So in this case, he has easily saved $2,950. And this is one of the real-time story which we have heard for. Just to reemphasize, recap, and bring it back on the table, that whenever you see a transaction, don't look at what is in the front, look at what is behind that also. Now I'm getting into some little bit of technical stuff, which is on money laundering. Now, as a chartered accountant, there are a lot of responsibilities being provided. You are not only a financial space which you can choose as a career. Compliance is also one of the space which can be looked as from a career perspective. A lot of finance professionals we have seen who are deployed in the banks, financial institutions, regulators, and defining how things can go right or wrong. And this is again one more space you can ponder on. Now the story, let me give a story here, how it goes into. You know what is saffron, right? Now, which you normally put in the milk and kheer and a lot of sweet dishes which we have it. So that's what I'm talking about. It's a very expensive product. Now, and on the right side, you can see the corn. So on the corn, you find the golden color hairs, which are basically called corn crest or a corn silk. Now I picked up a lot of corn silk, and what I did, I converted that or painted that or dyed that in the saffron shade. It started looking like a saffron. Now this is the background of the story, and the story goes like this. The country where the import duty of saffron is 300% exports duplicate saffron to a country where the saffron is produced. When it started, the transaction went into The flight took, the goods reached. And once it's reached, definitely the buyer is going to test in the lab whether this is the original stuff or not. And when they tested, they found it to be duplicate. So what happens? They said, sorry, we are rejecting this transaction. And in the process of the gentleman initiated and gave a bribe. And goods are replaced in the country of destination with original goods. You always heard that goods get transferred or changed to duplicate. But this is the case where the goods which were duplicate were being translated into original goods. And the journey starts back. That means the goods are getting returned. And the goods reached back with the original saffron in the country as an export rejection. Now, when it came as export rejection, the goods went into inside the country without paying any duty, which was 300%. You can see from an import perspective. Now, transactions, immediate. Now, this is where the story goes wrong. And you can see a lot of things have completely went into a very different haywire. You can see there is a bribe which is being there. There is a money laundering which happened. Now, how the money laundering in a very clear way. There is a very straight statement which says willful blindness is equal to knowledge. That's where the mental state comes into, and that's where the transaction comes into. Willful blindness is a deliberate avoidance of knowledge of facts or purposeful indifference. In corporate world, in your profession, in your practice, whatever we do, we need to be knowledgeable for or need to be advised for. If we don't know, we need to take professional support also, either internally or externally, to make sure we understand what we are talking about, to understand what kind of transactions we are talking about, to understand what kind of implications this has from a business perspective. This is where the willful blindness comes into very critical aspect. You cannot say, I was not aware, I have not read the policy, I have not read the procedure, I don't know the documentation. How can I come to know that this is right or wrong? No, that's not accepted in any part of the world now. There are roles and responsibilities which chartered accountants or professionals or employees or practitioners, whichever side you go, has to follow. You need to brush up your skills. You need to learn more and more and more on how things are moving into a right direction. Now, there are multiple things which we can talk about. I'll give you some broad aspects. Finance numbers don't talk, but definitely the background stories do talk on that. If I make a payment to unrelated parties, I purchase goods from Mr. A, but I'm paying to Mr. B. If there is a false reporting, such as commodity mismatch, misclassification, commodity over or undervaluation, why this is happening? These numbers will not come from the financial side. You need to look beyond the numbers. You need to look at the transaction. You need to look at the invoices. You need to look at the purchase orders. You need to look at the contracts which are getting executed. Are we in the right direction, or there is something which is going wrong? Repeated importation and exportation of same high value commodity as a round robin transaction. So you looked at, if the previous transaction which we looked at, where saffron has gone out and came back, if this is getting repeated again and again, that means export rejections are happening again and again. Why? On a financial side, this is perfectly fine. You did sales, you did recorded sales return. Okay, no problem. But is it right? What is the justification of having goods returned again and again? What is the justification of having the problem which is repeated again and again? We need to look at those aspects in a very detailed and methodological way on how these transactions are moving in. Commodities being traded that do not match the business involved. Your business is let's say into the steel industry, and what transaction you are doing or your business is doing is on the coal, is on the gold, is on the diamonds, is on some other product which is not involved. There can be reasons, but look at the justification, look at the reasons why those transactions are happening which are not supposed to happen, or for which the business model is not being attained into. So these are behind stories which we are looking at. And this is very important from an accounting perspective, transaction perspective, and looking at risk mitigation perspective also. Unusual shipping routes as transshipment point. Let's say if goods are getting dispatched from UAE to India, there is a straightaway water port or an airport which is there. But however, what's happening from UAE, it is going to European market, and from European market it's coming to India. Is there a justification reason? Is there a reason why this is happening? Or the goods are getting shipped and getting transferred, or goods are getting replaced from the source of location to in transit location. Look at those documents. It will help you to understand the transactions behind the scene. Packaging inconsistency with commodity or shipping method. So we have seen some cases where some interesting transactions have happened. One of the transactions I can talk about, the trade was of the silver, and the goods were exported from a country to Y country. And when it reached, the authorities have found that it was only outer layer of silver, whereas the product was actually gold. So you have a half a kg gold, which is being coated with a half a kg silver. So what is happening in this transaction? Is there something malified intention of buyer, seller, company, authorities? What all? Are we evading taxes in some places? Is there a malified practice which is happening in the transaction? Again, look at those shots. Double invoicing, I think you all understand that. I have a product which is one and I'm invoicing twice. Am I increasing my sales? Is this connected or not? Now there is always a question comes, if I do this or if I see this, what's wrong? What's going here and there? There is nothing different. There's no transaction trail which is happening. No, that's not the right thing. All these transactions, we call it normally a red flag. So red flag means there is something going wrong and there is always a dot to connect to. So we are not working in a standalone economy, or we are not working in a standalone world now. The world is connected, the data are connected, the information is connected. As we are getting into more technology savvy, our regulators are also equally getting technology savvy. You need to be updated, if not completely knowledgeable on things we are talking about, on what's happening globally or in the countries at least where your clients are selling or buying the products from. So there is a CBCR requirement, that is country by country reporting, section 286 of Income Tax Act talks about, where any kind of a profitability you are making across globe has to be advised under the respective sections. Common reporting standards. Now banks have started taking information about ownership, who are the owners, what kind of a passport you carry, what kind of a countries you travel to, what kind of a products you deal with, what is import location, what is export location. Imagine this information is there with the FIs. When I say FIs, I'm talking mainly bankers. So information is available. FATCA, Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act. Again, this is a section which has come up from a US perspective. US is completely vouching out what's happening globally for especially people who have a base in US or having a resident status in US. And in the similar fashion, CRS, which is Common Reporting Standard, which we talked about, has come up for other markets other than US. So these are connected points. Next comes Prevention of Money Laundering Act. So there is a very stringent act of whatever transactions happening cross-border. If you are receiving money, you are paying money, you need to look at both sections. One is a PMLA and second is Foreign Exchange Management Act. So FEMA also need to be looked at. Are we connected? Are we having the right transactions? Are we in the right side of the law, or are we getting into a different direction? So a lot of people have said, we want to move from an internal audit to taxation. What can we do? Start learning on this. Start reading these. Start participating in the seminars which the institute even runs for all the members. I think there's a lot of efforts which are going in from an institute perspective also to make sure that all the members are equally equipped and they're ready to face whatever new challenges comes into play. There are a lot of bilateral and multilateral documents between India and foreign jurisdictions which are there, which allows us to facilitate some transaction or not to facilitate some transaction, both ways. And this transaction is not only transaction, this is information also. So there are informations also getting shared across the foreign jurisdictions. There are enough of transaction threads, I will tell you, which are there. Vouch for that threads are there. Let's not do anything which is a standalone transaction just to make ourselves fool that no one is vouching us. Sorry, maybe someone is not vouching you today, but you can be vouched after 5 years, 10 years also, because you know the period of retention of documents, the period of retention of information with the regulatory authorities is very high. So now look at the threads which the regulators are creating through the financial institutions, which is banks, regulator, which is tax and registrars, social media and transaction analysis. So a lot of things are available in the pipeline now. So anyone who is traveling outside and giving a thumbs up on the Facebook or a LinkedIn or Instagram, someone also is vouching you on that side. Data validation between FI, GST, income tax, customs, it's becoming a norm now. A lot of we have seen where Indian authorities have started picking up data from each other and looking at whether we are having a right compliance structures, right compliance frameworks or not. And these are getting connected. If you get into a space of a consultant, whether you are a consultant within the organization or an independent consultant or a tax consultant or a tax advisor, whichever space you get into, you need to understand how you can connect the dots. If you're not able to connect the dots, things may look good from an income tax perspective, but maybe you are violating the Money Laundering Act or you're violating the Foreign FEMA Act, or there is a trail which you are leaving which is not allowed to be traded between those countries or those jurisdictions. That comes into. With this, I will stop the sharing screen. I'm done with my dot connection, because behind the scene is also important, because these informations are not the financial information. But this is something where as an auditor, you also need to look at. As I said, consultant, you need to anyway practice that and become so strong that when you talk to your clients or within the organization as an advisor, you have to bring up all those elements on table. Yes, sir, I agree. On income tax side, we are doing right, but we may be violating something on FEMA. Let's go back and review and look at what is the total implication comes into. Happy to be interactive in the interactive session. I'm getting into a lot of comments which are coming up. So Pradipji, back to you. I think we have 10 to 12 minutes. We can.
Yeah, 10 to 12 minutes we have. Thank you so much, Rajiv and Jay, for the wonderful session. Before we go back and check the questions from beginning, I would like to touch upon 3 points. First point is, I wanted to answer in my initial comments one question regarding Arabic, which I missed, and I think Harneet asked, is Arabic fluency necessary for moving to Gulf? No. If this has been answered somewhere, I think initially it was said regarding Arabic, it may be preferable for some jobs, government jobs, but very few are there. When we come to the Gulf, we may work around to know some words, but Arabic for most of the jobs where we Indian chartered accountants are employed, they are not Arabic fluent. Very few are there who have worked around and have got into such jobs. Very few, 0.00 something percentage. That is first thing. Second thing is Preeti has put a lot of efforts. She says, Pradeep sir, please read my comment. I really want to thank you for the effort and patience to understand what everyone is asking and ensuring everyone is answered. Thank you so much for all your efforts. Thank you, Preeti. I know that many have been missed, but you put efforts to put such a long comment, so thank you so much. Third, Rajiv, when you were talking about matrix, there were some comments, and I think Srishti had put a couple of comments to confirm the name of a matrix. If you can start with that, then I will move to the other things.
Sure. So, Srishti, that is a risk-based approach we talk about. Matrix is as simple as what is the probability and what is the consequence which is going to happen. There is no standard metrics, I will say. Every organization or every consultant uses a version which can be a plus minus. I'll give some broad tips. Ensure that the matrix serial number should be odd, not even. So when you have odd numbers, you know whether there is no gray which comes into the odd numbers. But when you have an even number, let's say if I take matrix of 6 by 6, someone says top 3 and bottom 3, that means I'm sitting in between. But when I have a matrix of 5 or 7, then I know what is black and white in some cases. So always use odd numbers, and this matrix is a consequence and what is the probability which comes into.
Rajiv, we will move to the question number 9, which I know I missed from Pooja very early. She asked. She says that I went for an interview today, and was rejected. All through the interview, only technical questions were asked and was closed with precisely in about 30 minutes. I felt, sorry, the comments are coming in, the window is moving. She said that I felt that the profile of my knowledge was theoretical, and I answered likewise. I would like to ask, why do companies want a previous experience in certain profile when the job application profile they mention might be 0, and also how we should deal with such interviews in the future?
Perfect. So I think this is, I think, Pooja which is asked, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So Pooja, I'll just give a perspective here. Yes, organizations do look at sometime a refined profile which has worked or experienced on that part. But there is always a good connect which you can always do. One is, example, we talked about a risk matrix, right? You may not have practically worked on that risk matrix, but had you read it properly, had you imbibed it properly, and had you framed it into your personal practice. Let me frame it out. During the chartered accountant qualification also, had you used this matrix, which is 5x5 matrix on likelihood and probability? Yes, you had done that. How? What is the probability of this subject coming up? And what is the consequence if I don't read this or don't get into a complete expert in that topic? So you have done that kind of a matrix in your personal life also. So connect with your personal experiences. You may not have practically experienced, but can you connect that with any other practical exposures which you have, which can be a qualification, which can be a knowledge? So don't get disheartened. Yes, organizations in some cases look at the practical experiences. Let's forget about anything else. Even if you are sitting on an interview place, imagine what you are going to do if you have a person with an experience and without an experience. So it's easy to say, I'm not getting selected because I don't have a practical experience. But what are we going to do when we sit on the interviewer side? Look at that perspective also. There's always a learning, and I can tell you each interview which you give, you may be facing hardship by not getting selected, but that's again a learning which you're getting into. You're preparing yourself for something bigger, because every interview will teach you something, and if you go back and prepare the notes and say, what kind of action plan I need to do, it's going to be amazing. So keep learning. There is nothing called failure. There is only either a learning or a success.
Rajiv, this question yesterday was also asked by Govind. I told him that tomorrow tax consultant expert is coming, so I'll help you answer this. He was in a profile of internal audit in the articleship for all the years, and now want to move to tax consultancy. So would like to have some viewpoints on whether this will be the right approach as in the job, and how he should prepare for it.
Okay. So as we said, what is your gut telling you? Do you have a gut to get into a tax consultancy? Yes, you are saying you have that. You are in internal audit department, right? So first thing, do an audit of a tax department of the organization where you are part of internal audit. Get into intricacies of how the tax department is operating, what kind of structures they are having. If you can master that, write an article about how to do an internal audit of a tax department. And I can bet you, if you are able to write an article for, I'm not talking about a length or a breadth, but giving a perspective to anyone who can get into a tax frame. If you have done this successfully, you are ready for it. Go and jump into the tax department, and I'm sure you will do wonders in that because you have prepared yourself. There is a possibility. You may say, no, this is quite confusing. I don't like it. Or this is not my cup of tea. Perfectly fine. Still, you have learned to a good extent on how to audit our tax department. So I think prepare yourself. There is always a journey. Don't look at a jump. If you jump straight away from let's say from a hot to cold, you may get pneumonia. So just slowly add up your feet and get into the cold environment. Back to you, Prabdipji.
There are two questions related to the Gulf job market. Jitendra is asking what is the best approach to move into Gulf, and Rohit, I think, is asking what is the average CTC. I can answer this a bit. Jitendra, there is nothing like a best approach. because there are some companies who come on campus, some will advertise in Naukri, some of the candidates come to the country and look for a job, though it's not that significantly advisable if we are looking for a very good job. And with regard to the CTC also, the level of the companies differ significantly. You asked that how much is the living cost, and accordingly, what is the average I should expect. So for good organizations, 8 to 10,000 dirhams, which becomes like between 180,000 INR to 200,000. And you as a bachelor can live a good life at like for 3 or 4,000 dirhams if you spend. You can live here as a bachelor in a good conditions. And so that's but there may be some companies which may offer you less than that, but there may be very few, because the size of a company differs, whether it is an MNC differs, so that depends. So there can be a huge variation. There may be some jobs who may even give you 15,000 dirhams a start, but those may be very less, right? So 8 to 10,000 dirham average, I believe, starting. But there may be some who may give you 6 or 7 also. So Rajiv or Jay, if you have any viewpoint.
I'll just add up here, I'll talk about my journey. So my journey was a jump from an Indian employment to UAE. So this was more a transfer. So the opportunities you can look at is the multinational companies which are working in India. You can join them, look at the step approach and move on. I know a lot of people who have moved from DP World from India to UAE. A lot of multinational companies which have a presence in India and UAE or other Gulf countries. So people take a leap of faith and they move on. Cost, as any chartered accountant in India can have a very different range of how the employability comes into. Similar things in UAE also. And the cost factor, which Prabdeep said, is perfectly fine. So you are looking at, don't look at a lavish stuff. So we are talking about how the basics things can work in. Money spending in any part of India or any part of the globe is very easy. So how much you want to spend, you can spend as easy as possible. Back to you, Jay.
Oh, I'm fine. I mean, you covered it fine. So everything is covered. We'll go to the next question in rest of time. Prabir
Yeah,
sir, back to you.
Shirisha was
I would
asking.
like to pose one question. There is one question which is very related to this. There is one candidate, Harmeet Kaur. Her question is, for a job in investment banking sector, which is the preferred qualification in Gulf, CA or CFA?
I think a combination, that's my answer. I think so. Both should be there. I know Rajiv can answer better, but
I have seen a lot of chartered accountants who are good in investment banking. So there is no dearth of additional qualification. I am a single qualified because I always believe my alma mater has given me enough and I don't need to bank on any other qualification. So my experience, my knowledge, my acquisition of new skills on a practical approach is what people look at. You have already proved yourself qualified chartered accountant. That's one good part. But anyway, any additional qualification is always good. I'm not demotivating you. I'm saying look at development, whether that development happens through additional qualification.
Recording is on.
I truly believe that this time. I truly believe that this time the questions are large in number, so it was people had shown a lot of interest in the session. And Mr. Praveen, thank you so very much.
thank you. So, thank you to each one of you who are here. I would like to request you that tomorrow first session is on communication by Mr. Singaraju, who is coming from Doha, and the second is to build your analytic capabilities from a leader's wherein. So please do not tomorrow. Here again, thanks to Rajiv Jay, called Jay and Vidu, Jory of Chole Special. Of your help, bye-bye.